Okay, righto, everyone. It's Will and Brodie here, and we've decided to do a podcast, which we've been talking about, I think, for a while now, but just hasn't come together yet. So I think when I was over in America, it probably prompted me a bit more. When I went on Stacking Pennies and saw all those guys over there doing podcasts, probably prompted me a bit more to put this together, and Brodie was keen to jump on with me.
I think we've had this idea now for what, like 6 months or so?
Yeah, probably.
Actually, probably a little bit longer, actually.
Yeah, probably a little bit longer. I think, I don't know. I think when I was over there, it probably gives more back to the fans. You know, a lot of people are just tuning into Stacking Pennies, Denny Hamlin's podcast and all of that. And I noticed that while I was over there, and I probably don't think there's enough of that in Australia yet, enough people doing this and giving, I guess, content while we're not racing, when it's only, racing every 3 weeks or so. There's probably not enough going on.
It's probably a bit different over there how drivers are probably becoming more active, like you said, with podcasts. I think there's like Dale Jr. I mean, he's an ex-driver now, but and then there's Danny Hamlin, Corey LaJoy, which is Stacking Pennies that you went on. Did you enjoy going on that one?
Yeah, it was good. He's a really good fella. They do an awesome job of that podcast actually, and it was great jumping on with him, seeing his studio. But yeah, that was cool. I didn't realize he builds race seats and all that in the back.
Yeah,
like his family.
His dad did. Did he mention that he knew me?
Yeah, I actually last time when I was over there, he said he raced against you when you were a kid over in America.
No, he didn't race. He actually crew chief for me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he actually, when I raced in the, it's called the Arca Menard series now, but when I raced in the K&N series, he was actually my crew chief.
So is that different to the Arca series currently over there?
It's pretty much the same thing now. So it would be the same as what the Arca series is now, but it was quite a lot more competitive back when I was racing it than what it is now. There was like majority of the top tier cup teams had, I guess, like Super2 teams would be the equivalent, and it was just like our little family team. And I remember calling Corey because he raced the year before and won a lot of races, and I was like, can you please like fucking help me because we suck.
Yeah, I remember I was over there at Atlanta, like he was in the car, helmet on, like putting his helmet on, and I gave him the thumbs up, and he's like, "You ready for Stacking Pennies on Monday?" So he was thinking about the podcast the whole time. So yeah, that's pretty much. We thought we'd bring a podcast for the fans. It's not sponsored or anything right now. We're funding it. Brodie's paying for it because he's on more money than me. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, so we thought we'd bring it. No sponsors, but obviously everyone at home, you know who supports us. So if you can continue to support all our sponsors there. But I guess we'll probably throw it back to when we started racing against each other before Erebus days or anything like that. Start from the start and talk about that. And that was, I guess, I remember you coming back. I don't know. I don't think I was raced. Did you race Super2 in 2016?
No, I didn't. No, so I was
Super 3?
My cousins were racing Super2 in 2016. It was the first year that they allowed, I think, the car of the future into Super2. So I was actually crewing for Kurt and Jake. So they just bought the 888 cars, the two 888 cars.
I thought you ran a Falcon.
I ran a Falcon in 2017. So I joined the series in 2017, and I raced for Matt Stone Racing in a what's it called, a Project Blueprint car, which was an FG at the time. So
I remember that because I remember you had some actually pretty good results for that car towards the back end of the year. I think it was Bathurst, you weren't too bad, and a couple of places. And I remember I was with Eggleston at the time in 2017 in a new car, and we were like, oh, I reckon Brodie, when he gets in a new car, is going to be pretty competitive here. So the family bought another.
Yeah, so it was pretty similar to like what happened with, I guess, what do you call it, like Gen 2, I guess. Like there wasn't enough cars going around for me to hop into a car of the future in 2017. So my only option was, if I wanted to join the grid, was to go drive with MSR. So I actually, when I was driving for MSR, Todd was racing for MSR as well in Super2, and he actually won the championship that year with the team. But that was probably a pretty good way to go into, expectations were quite low because I was in an older car. But then I started having some pretty decent results. I think like Phillip Island, I got like a 7th or something in that car, which was pretty cool. And then I went to Bathurst, got like no practice, went out for qualifying, did like a 206.8, which was like my first proper flyer. And I remember coming into the pits, and Jimmy Stone was just like, looked like he was about to cry. And I was like, what's going on, Jimmy? And he's like, that's the fastest that car's ever gone. So it was actually really cool, like a really cool moment. I mean, when they raced those cars, it was on the 17-inch tyre, so it was a little bit different. But yeah, it was actually a pretty cool feeling and a good way to get blooded into the, I guess, sport of supercars at the time. So you were racing in the Eggleston car,
I was in the Eggleston car because they had a pretty good deal with Triple Eight at the time that they would buy a lot of their old cars. So I think we ran 3 cars that year, me, PD, and Nathan Morecambe. But so that was a good year. I always have a good year my first year. You know this, 2017. That's pretty typical for me. So my first year, 2017, I think I was 5th in the Super 2 Championship. I nearly won my last race. I remember it. I qualified second or pole. I can't remember. And I was leading for the whole race. And the gearbox started getting a vibration. And I'm like, on the radar, I'm like, this thing's vibrating really bad. And I could see the gear lever. And Ben's like, nah, just send it. Just go until the thing blows. And I literally got 4 laps from the end, leading my first ever race, last race of the year, and the thing broke down. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. So I went to the bathroom, I hopped out of the car, had a moment to myself. I'm like, oh, far out this. And then went back out and I'm like, nah, it'll be a good time. We'll go out and have a party tonight and get over this. But still a cool way to finish the year with them. But then 2018, I'm guessing that's when your family team, they bought an extra car for you.
Yeah, so we're able to get a hold of an extra car. So it was the Shane Van Gisbergen, I think, championship winner.
Yep.
I believe. So Kurt got that car and I got Jake's car and Jake got Kurt's car. So sort of Jake actually got into a crash at 2017 at Sandown, quite bad. So I actually took him out for the
getting in a crash. No way.
Yeah, so it actually wrote the whole back of the car off. So we had to take it over to Pace Innovations and they cut the whole back of it off and I had to like rebuild the whole thing from start to finish and started off the season with at Adelaide, obviously, and it was myself, Kurt, and Jake all working in the same workshop with 2 other guys there, which was pretty colourful times.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd heard about some of this. Jake didn't used to do a lot of work, did he? And you guys all used to rip on him. And
well, we used to get we had a few punch ups and stuff at times, and I just remember Kurt and Jake getting into a fight on the floor and just looking at the 2 other guys that we had there, and they're still and like we still laugh about it now, but just some of the stuff that happened there was just so funny, and it's pretty cool because we can laugh about it now, but like really looking back on it, it was I guess just 3 guys just trying to like make it work basically with what we sort of had. So there wasn't enough money to go around to go buy 3 rides to go for a team. The only way we could make it work was to run it ourselves basically. Yeah. So it was a pretty cool experience and definitely learned a lot in the process and got to meet like a lot of great people throughout the sport. Like obviously spending a lot of time at Triple Eight and Kurt was actually working at Triple Eight at the time and was a number 2 on Shane's car. So we got a lot of, I guess, knowledge through him that sort of filtered down to our team as well, which was really cool.
That was an interesting thing for me at the time because as someone looking from the outside, it looked like it was a big budget team. Like you guys bought 888 cars and had all the good stuff. But then when you actually knew you guys behind the scene, you knew that that
was a shit show.
Kurt, Jake were all trying to run it, all trying to make it work and that sort of stuff. And it didn't have, a lot of employees or that sort of stuff. So from the outside, I know a lot of people were going, oh, look at these guys, they're coming in and spend the cash. But then you guys were doing all the prep and everything on the cars to build them up. But I guess that's probably when we met, really. Like before that, we'd met each other a few times, but when you started running well and got the new, what would you call it, VF at the time and got the updated car in 2018, we sort of started racing a fair bit then together. And you had a really good year that year, though. I was on my off year, I was on my second year. That's my bad year. But I think I struggled a bit that year. And I remember you probably won 4 races or something?
Yeah, I started off the season pretty well. I started off Adelaide with like a 4th, I believe, and then I got my first podium at Tassie, which I think was around after. And then I actually had Jason Gray as my engineer at the time, which he was Frosty's last championship winning engineer.
Yes.
So he was really, really, really great to work with and had a lot of experience and was really sort of helped fine tune my driving stuff as well. And really sort of hit my stride, probably Sandown is when I got my first race win. Yep. And then from then on, it just sort of like just opened the floodgates basically. And I won a few more races, which was really cool. But I guess that's where it sort of kickstarted for me. And it was a sort of a pretty good year, back half of the year for me, where I think I won majority of the races. So that was a pretty good way to end the year.
Yeah, you're right. Sandown. I remember you and PD were a bit.
Yeah, we had a big battle.
Yeah, had a good battle there.
Yeah, my front roll bar broke as well.
Right.
Yeah. So there was like this massive train of cars behind me of like 10 cars or something, and I was just blocking. I was just gonna crash or win. was the way that I was going for it. But yeah, it's pretty cool to, I guess, there's so much, like you said, so much work was going on behind the scenes, and like I was living at the workshop in the truck at the time. So the truck and transporter that we had a living quarters in the front. It used to be Rusty French's old trailer. So I had like a small like living quarters at the front. So I just used to just sleep at the workshop and just and just live at the workshop basically in 2018. So we were doing like a lot of big hours there to sort of make it all work, which was it was really, really cool to, I guess, get the results.
Yep. I guess skipping to 2019, that was probably when we had our first proper run-in. So you had a good year, a good back in the year. I didn't. And I think that year, 2019, PD dropped off the grid. There was a couple drop off, and it was really me, you, and Thomas Randall were the ones that were up the front. Or was that 20? No, that might have been 2020. But 2019, 2019,
I did the first two rounds, remember? Because I did Adelaide, and that's when you drove across my nose.
No,
and put
but I was in
an
an Eggleston car when we crashed that year. So that was 2019.
Yeah,
2019 was
that
the
was
year
2019.
that we started Adelaide, and I was like, oh yeah, Brodie's been fast, and I think I switched you back because you got balked into turn 5 at Adelaide.
Yeah,
and I'd switch you back, and I didn't.
Well, you definitely didn't pass me on pace.
I didn't clear you on exit. yeah. I didn't clear you on exit, but I thought I had. So it probably wasn't completely your fault, but you could have rolled out. And I just remember on exit, I felt this just like right hook, and I'm like trying to correct it. And you obviously haven't got out of the power and just put me in the fence on the left. And
I absolutely didn't get out of the power. Well, you didn't do it again, did you?
No, definitely. And I was out. I was out for the day. So that was, I think, the first or second race.
That was a lot of damage.
There was a lot of damage.
Yeah, I didn't realize like
it hit really hard.
It didn't look like it was that big, but it was quite big.
Is it when they brought the wall in? It's when they brought the new wall in.
Yeah, the exit wall in, the Shane wall.
They brought the new exit wall in, so you sort of hooked me.
Yeah,
but
turn 7 exit it. Yeah,
I just missed that. If you hooked me earlier and I hit that wall, it wouldn't have been too big, but it shot me after that and shot me straight in the fence, and I was out. So that was me done, and that's when we first sort of had our first run in, and I was like, oh, I don't like this guy anymore.
But do you remember, I remember finishing that race, I can't remember if I got a penalty or not. I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
No, I don't think I did, but I remember coming in to Parc Ferme, and you remember how Parc Ferme was? So it's after the race, and it's like you're in the back paddock of Super 2, so it's always a bit of like a shit show, to be honest.
Yep.
And they sort of give directions of where you want to park, but no one ever listens, so cars are going everywhere. So I've come into the Parc Ferme, and I see your old man, Shane, standing there, and I'm trying to work out where I'm getting directed to go, and it was just a shit show. And then I start getting out of the car, and then your dad goes, that guy can't even park his fucking car properly. And was like, he's just a fuckhead. And he was like walking off and saying it like under his breath. And I was like, Shane, I said, if you got something to fucking say, come over and say it to my face. And I remember him just going, just like walking off.
Oh, I remember hearing about that after.
And that's when it sort of like, I'm sure he went into the Eggleston truck and called me every name under the sun.
No, well, I was too scared. If it was someone smaller, I would have come down and said something, but I saw it at the time. I'm like, I'll let that one go.
So I guess that's when our like little rivalry sort of started, because I guess, like you said, like a few people had dropped off. So we were sort of like the poster boys.
I think we probably worked out during 2019 that we were both that was the year I sort of thought I'm capable of probably getting into main game. And I think we're both at that stage, and it's like we're competing to try and get into main game.
To get a seat.
We'd crashed into each other. So that was like 2019. We both had an okay year that year. I think, what did you?
Well, because I did the first 2 rounds, and then we decided it'd be a great idea to do the wild card.
Yep.
So, we chopped my car up, and
that's right,
and turn it into a ZB, which was the biggest nightmare I've ever been a part of. And that's when the most amount of fights, punch ups, everything happened, was when that was doing, because that was the biggest mission to do the wild card. So that was like a massive effort to do everything ourselves and get crew and everything else. So I only did Adelaide and then Perth, and then I didn't race for the rest of the year until Enduros.
That's right.
So when Jake and I did did that wild card and all the Boost Mobile wild card. So that's when all that started.
That actually didn't work out too bad for you though, because Bathurst, you were having a good run. Jake accidentally crashed it, but Sandown was probably a standout for you that helped you probably more than running Super 2. In the rain, you drove up to like 6th.
6th or 7th. And then, Gold Coast was actually like, Jake was really fast at Gold Coast, and I was fast as well. And we were running like 9th or 8th legitimately. We got a puncture in the last race. So that we ended up finishing 15th or 16th, but we legitimately were running like 8th on pace. Or actually, we were going to finish like 8th or 9th or something in the race. And that was like, you know, that's like unheard of for, you know, a wildcard. And we had no idea what we were doing. Like we were just like, it was just like
working it out.
It was just a disaster. But yeah, we're pretty lucky to have like good support from Triple Eight, and the car was good to drive. We had Jason Gray there, which is a championship winning engineer. And some really good crew that have been with us for a while, and sort of was just like a full ring in effort. And that was sort of like, that's really what kickstarted my career, was doing that wild card.
Yeah. And then so we pretty much, you got through those wild cards, went on to 2020. I think I was co-driving for Erebus since 2019. Since 2018. I did 2018-19 with Anton. And then coming into 2020, they got rid of Luke. And I remember they were looking for a co-driver, so they switched me to Dave. It was just good size. I fit well in his car and everything. Then they announced you as the other co-driver. And I thought, far out, this is going to be competitive. Me and Brodie already 2 rivalries in 2 different cars. We'll both be going hard against each other. But that was a pretty good year. We actually got along.
Yeah, we did. So that was a pretty like interesting time, because when we finished the wild card, everyone just thought that we were going to go run main game. So that was the rumor. So no one really considered me as like a co-driver, to be honest. And I started spending a lot of time with Paul Morris, and actually started living with them, like Nash and Paul in his house. And we got sort of the point where the family team sort of come to its head, like where everyone sort of just had a bit of enough. Like everyone was really burnt out after that year. So that was all shutting down. It was like, what do I do next? And so Paul called Barry and was like, would you take Brodie as a co-driver? And he's like, absolutely. No problem at all. And but I had, part of the deal was I had to be racing Super 2 to co-drive, probably same as you. So I said, yeah, no problem, I'll sort that out. I had not a single dollar to like, I literally had like $500 in my bank account, and not a single dollar, and had to work out where I was going to be driving Super 2 for and how to fund it all.
Which kind of worked out perfectly at the time, didn't it? It was a switch.
Well, this is where it gets funny.
Yeah.
So I remember working out what I was going to do, and Paul was like, I'll just run you in the FGX. And I remember looking at the FGX, and I'm like, I don't know much about this car, and I just didn't want it to be a bit of a mess. So I remember calling Ben and Rachel and going, hey, you know, I'm either going to drive Paul's car and win every race. Like, this is how cocky I was. Like, do you remember how cocky I used to be?
Yeah,
I was such an asshole.
I do remember
like, when I look back at it now, I'm like, what an idiot.
I do think you've tamed down a bit from I remember that.
I remember calling Ben, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm either going to win every race in Paul's car, or I can win every race in your car. So which one do you want it to be?
I think it worked pretty well then, because I'd switched over to Terry's, and they were looking like, not that I left them in the lurch, but I was out of money pretty much at the end of 2019 as well. Like, we just spent a lot of money on Super 2, and we just didn't want to keep going. That's when Betty had offered me the deal after Gold Coast to sign on for another year as a co-driver, and then she'll run me for 2 to 3 years as a main game driver. So, but she said they want to switch me into their Super 2 team, Terry. So I had to let Ben and Rachel know, which they'd been so great to me. Ben and Rachel probably, you know, they'd one of the ones that had set up my career. So they understood it. But I switched over to Image Racing, and then that left a hole at Eggleston's where they wanted to fill, and obviously you got it.
Well, that kind of like almost took us to another level, because I rolled out at the test day on number 38, and your handle still Wilbrand 38 on Instagram.
That's right.
And I was like doing everything I could to just piss you off at the time.
I remember that. I was like, I didn't expect this. Like I knew I had to switch across because it just worked out with the Erebus deal. But then I was like, far out. They filled that seat with Brodie. He's probably going to go out and beat me in my own car. This is going to suck. So it's like, far out. So that was that year. But then that was when I guess everything went down. We just signed for Super 2. You'd signed with Eggleston. I was with Image. And I think we got one round in.
We got 2. So we did 2 rounds in Adelaide, which I won out. And
you had an awesome weekend.
Yeah, won 2 races, and then tried to throw away the round on the last one.
Yeah, this is how cocky you were. I remember you're catching Randall, and you hit the fence at turn 8, and I don't know how it didn't break the suspension. And then you go and win the race, and I'm third, and I'm like, and I was behind you when you hit the fence, and I was like, oh, you're pretty lucky at turn 8, and you're like, yeah, no, it was all part of the plan, I was just using the fence, and I'm like, what is this? I was like, whatever. But I remember that. I was like, oh, I went to Ben, and I was like, you wouldn't believe what he said to me. He's like, yeah, he's pretty proud of himself. I'm like,
I don't know what it was, but it was just like, I don't know, I just
got you there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Nah,
I was just so cocky back then. But.
And then we did. So what did we do? We did Adelaide. Then we did
Sydney, which was
You did Sydney as well.
Yeah, so I was in Sydney. So
you
Sydney,
didn't have as good of a round at Sydney though.
No, because my car broke down.
Yes.
Yeah, so
right.
I was one of the ignition switches. Probably after I smoked the wall at turn 8, to be honest. Yeah. So it was one of those things. But
that's right.
Yeah, car shut down the race. But you and I were battling every single race at Sydney.
This. We were battling really hard. I remember you guys. They were trying to find you guys there for running brand new tyres in practice, which you weren't meant to do. They'd be scuffed.
They were scuffed.
And they were scuffed. And Image was like, yeah, we got to get them. And I was like, I've been doing that for 3 years at Eggleston. I said, I'm not complaining about it.
It got a bit rivalry from, I remember because Barry obviously had an invested interest and Brodie had an invested interest in you, obviously paying for your program to happen. And then I'm just going out in the Eggleston thing and I just flogged everyone at Adelaide.
Yeah, that was...
So I remember going to Erebus for first hanging out with the team. And I remember Mirko and stuff there's your car's illegal. There's just no way.
Yeah, I think Eggleston ran a pretty good program over those couple of years though.
They did.
Obviously, I guess shout out to Ben and Rachel. Both of us would say that they probably helped fund and did a great job of both of our careers.
I wouldn't be sitting. You could probably say the same. I wouldn't be sitting here today without doing that year with them.
Yeah.
So I'm probably glad that because I would have felt really bad doing the year and not knowing if I was going to be able to find the funding to go do it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, COVID was probably a good thing to me in the end.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And that's when, so we co-drove that year. We did we do Sandown, Bathurst?
No, we only did. It was only Bathurst that year.
It was only Bathurst that year.
Yeah, it was only Bathurst that year. It was meant to be 3, and I just got put down to 1 for Bathurst.
And you're always fast at Bathurst. We've seen that, and you did an awesome job. But the motors, remember that year? The motors were just average as they're Walkinshaw motors.
They weren't. I remember because that was a big deal.
You complain in the Fords these days, but they were worse. They were nowhere.
I don't know about worse, but that was a big deal. Signing for that team because they'd also ran really well at Bathurst each year.
Yeah.
So going into that year, it was you're in for a big chance to win the race.
Yep.
And Dave and Anton were always so fast around there. And I remember getting there, and then Walkinshaw were having the engine issues with the new piston upgrade that they did to try and make the motors last longer, and it just the things were absolute boat anchors down the straight, which was just...
They're losing 3-4 tenths. I remember looking at it.
Yeah. Well, that continued through our full time, the end of our career in those Gen 2 cars.
You're running them the whole time. Well, that's pretty much where it skips on to, is that at the end of that year, I think we sort of accepted each other by then, but I wouldn't say we were mates by then. And then I remember we left Bathurst and all of it was going down with Erebus with Dave and Anton. Anton was leaving. He was going to DJR at the time. Yeah. Dave, we'd left Dave, and obviously the team were in a bit of turmoil, and he'd had his 10-year contract, and I was like, okay, well, I'm signed for next year, and I was good mates with Dave at the time, still am great mates with Dave, but at the time I was like, oh, this is cool, I'll get to race with Dave next year. I sort of always looked up to him. And then we went away, and it was about 2 weeks we had to quarantine in
Casuarina,
Kingscliff.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Dave, and I noticed that it was uncertain if he was going to be there. And I'm like, and I was actually worried that I might not get a drive. There was no, I don't know, it just didn't feel like there was certainty around the team right then or what was going to happen. And I hadn't had that chat with Barry yet. And then I get a call about a week and a half into the trip that, you're definitely driving main game next year. Barry called me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm in the probably 99 car, so at least I've got a drive here. I've got a full-time drive, and then I noticed Dave's probably out. And then it was only a week or two later that Barry rang me and said, yeah, we've split tyres with Dave. Dave's not running. I was like, oh, I would have liked to run with him. And then I thought, who's going to get the main game seat and get in the, I thought at the time that'd be the 9 car. Who's going to be in the 9 car? And then, I remember Barry calls me and goes, oh, Brodie's going to be driving in the other main car. I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. I've got to put up with this guy again. So see how we go getting along. And then I remember we actually had lunch or dinner at some pub at Gold Coast. Do you remember this? Barry like called us and was like, "You two are driving. I'm coming up to Gold Coast. We'll all meet."
Yeah.
So we went and had lunch, and he's like, and credit to Barry, actually, during this time. I remember him sitting there and he pulled up his phone and goes, "These are the people I think we can beat with you
that's
guys
it, the
throughout
spreadsheet.
the year."
No,
he
sorry,
brought
the Apple Notes.
Yeah, Apple Notes. And he
yeah.
brought up his phone and he goes, "Okay, so these are the people I think you can beat throughout the year. We're not going to beat Triple Eight, DJ and that." But he was like, "I think we can finish around 8th in the championship, 9th if you guys
I remember that.
don't do a bad job." So he put some pressure on us straight away. So me and you, we started working together, and best thing for us is we didn't so much go, "Oh, we're going to create this rivalry and try and flog each other and make it bad in the team." We're like, "Okay, well, let's work together to try and build this team back up, make it what it was, and sort of help each other." And we went straight out. And I think the best thing for us that year is that we became really good mates, but also we wanted to see each other do well and help each other. So it built the team up pretty quickly. And there was actually some really good people at Erebus at that time as well.
Yeah, look back, there was definitely that. As soon as, I guess, we had that lunch, I think both of us knew what situation we were in at the time. And there was a lot of people counting us out. They'd had, Al McVeigh had left.
Mirko.
Yeah, Mirko had left. And it was big news at the time. But, that was it. Like, that's the whole engineering team's gone. So... And I guess that's where Tom had been moved up into being an engineer, and he was a data engineer at the time. And I remember Barry, because I was wondering who my engineer was going to be at the time. I had no idea.
I remember this. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I've got someone that's got really good European experience." And I'm looking through the engineers thing, going who the fuck is who the fuck is he talking about? And he goes, "Oh, George Cummins is going to be really good, and he's got a really, really interesting resume." And I'm like, "Oh, right." I'm like, okay, this will be interesting. And to be honest, George was on his last legs at Kelly's. He didn't really have too many other options where to go. So I think when we had that lunch, it was like a light switch had just switched on for us both, and we realized that it was sink or swim for us both, because two rookies into a team was just
new engineers.
It was a
couple new mechanics.
Every single person down pit lane would have looked at us and gone, "These guys are gonna this is the world's biggest stuff
100%.
up ever." And I remember going out for practice one. Remember we put that bet on?
Yeah, we put the bet on and I fenced it straight up. That was good.
So for everyone listening at home, we used to do fastest lap challenge first lap of practice
every lap.
So we had this for our whole partnership. And was it a WD-40 car?
Yeah, it was. I think it was WD-40.
So we go for practice one at Bathurst, because we started Bathurst that year for the 500, and I'm licking my visor, trying to just do the best first lap I can, and we just raced there as well, because it was where we finished. Was it? Yeah, it's where we finished the year, I think.
Yeah, we finished Bathurst.
We finished the year, so we're pretty
I think our first laps were we got to check it, but I think they're 2:07.
Yeah, they were
good.
We were first and second, and then I hear George comes on the radio, he goes, "Red flag, red flag, red flag, there's a car on the wall." And I'm like, "Who is it?" And then I go past the TV screen, and there's you with all four corners hanging off of it, smoke pouring out of it. And I'm like, fuck, this is not good.
I thought I was up on it. I was wheeling this thing, and I was looking at the screen, and I'm like, far out. Look, I'm second. It was Gizzy in front of me, and I'm like, I'm going good, and I think I got a bit in this. And I actually didn't feel like I was over the limit, going to crash.
You always say this when you crash.
I know, but where I crashed, I didn't expect to crash. You know what I mean? Generally, you're expecting to make a mistake at the grade or something. But I was getting understeer there in the Erebus car, so I just turned in a bit early to try and creep it in, clipped the inside fence straight in the outside, wrote the thing off, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst way to start my career. This thing is done. And then I remember Barry after it, I think Roland walked down to Barry and goes to Barry, "Oh, mate, why didn't you tell him to slow down?" And credit to Barry. Barry goes, "Mate, pretty much said, I'm not here to tell my drivers to slow down."
He was really good about it.
He was really good about it. He was like, "Nah, they're going out there. They're going as fast as they can all year. If they crash, they crash." So Barry was good about it. I remember the thing was screwed and Jimmy was there.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, you're like, "Come on, Jimmy, you can fix it." And Jimmy's like, "I don't know about this." And you're like, and this is where we became good friends. And I was like, far out, credit to Brodie. When Jimmy's like, "I don't know if we can fix this," you're like, "Jimmy, if you don't bring out the TIG, I'll go get the MIG and have a go at it." And he's like, "Oh no, I'll have a go then." Yeah. So they got the, what do you call it, the Porter?
Yeah, the Porter Power.
Porter
God, that
Power.
thing was 15 mil short. So I guess to explain that for people at home listening, if our cars are millimeters out, they feel disgusting.
Yeah.
So you went out and that thing would have been going down the straight on an angle.
We had it. You put in the shootout.
Yeah. So we went in the shootout the first day, and I remember after that, our expectations completely changed.
Yeah.
And I remember George going, "Oh, this is like easy," because he just finished a year with Rick Kelly, and Rick probably didn't have the best end of his the best end to his career he probably could have had being in the cars that he was in and whatnot. Yep. I remember George going, "Oh, this is gonna be easy."
Yeah, that was like you rolled out, put in the shootout. I'd obviously crashed the car, but I still qualified like 15th or 16th and had pretty good pace all weekend. And we finished that. Did you get in the shootout on Sunday as well?
No, I didn't. No. So we just missed the shootout on Sunday, and then that's when we started noticing the motor dramas. Like the second day the motor started dropping off a fair bit, and then Walkinshaw guys were having the same dramas, and it just sort of like compounded from there.
Pretty much throughout that year, it's like I feel like for a rookie, it's about having a few standout drives. You're obviously going to make mistakes. You know, you're not going to always be perfect. But for that year, we both had multiple standout drives. Like I think Tassie, I might have qualified 3rd or 4th. Tail and Bend in the wet, I was running 3rd. And
I got a podium on my second round at Sandown.
Yeah, well there we go. You got a podium.
So and I remember like we finished 2nd in that race. So do you remember the tyres that weekend? I qualified dead last in one of the qualies in the wet, and then the next one I qualified 6th or 7th, but I sprayed it on a pole lap. And that was like a pretty cool moment for the team, because obviously we were like you were really fast in the race too, because I think you drove up to 5th in that race or something.
I think I was 5th or like we had really good races.
We were really fast that race, and I finished 2nd to Shane, and he was just doing his thing, just managing the race as per usual. But I remember coming across the line and watching the race back and seeing Barry and Loretta cry.
Yeah.
Because like obviously it's a pretty big deal. Two rookies come in and we sort of built on for that there. Like you said, you had that really good run at Tassie where you were running 4th and the motors were terrible. So that was like a race win really. And then where was after?
Well, pretty much we went to Tail and Bend. I qualified 4th there in the rain, or either I qualified 4th.
Yeah, you were really good there.
I was running good. I would have got a podium, but we stayed out. Remember,
you waiting for
Barry
the rain.
was up on the roof and like, the rain's coming. And I'm like, I was running 3rd. Like all I want is a podium. I don't want to win here. And I think I ended up finishing 5th or 6th or something. It wasn't too bad. And then had a few more. I think I came 5th at Townsville, so I looked after
you had
the
that really good Sunday race,
So we're running pretty well. I think we're still like 10th and 11th in the championship going into Sydney, and then COVID hit and all the stuff again, and we had to do 4 weekends at Sydney, and somehow my car was fast.
I hated you that
weekend. I don't know what happened there.
So the cars actually were really good, but you had that's really when you like solidified yourself. Was that those 4 weekends for me was. It was, remember Anton was on pole like every race, but we were the first.
I think I was like always 2nd, 3rd.
Yeah, so you were always 2nd or 3rd, and you actually got pole on one of them. I think it was the one you won, wasn't it? You got pole?
No, I actually qualified 4th for the one I won, which I was watching like a while ago.
The cars were really good in the race, I remember that, but I was struggling a fair bit that weekend compared to you. I just couldn't do what you were doing with the car. And I remember you getting your first race win, and you can probably talk us through that, but that was like a massive moment for yourself and the team.
I didn't think that race was possible because we qualified 2nd, 3rd. We were running 2nd in heaps of races and like close, but that race we were 4th, and Tom decided to undercut everyone, and I got quite a big lead because everyone fought, and I came out and I'm like, and then I heard the 2 888 cars pit, and I was like looking in my mirror, I'm like, I'm a fair way ahead of these guys. Let's manage these tyres. And as a young bloke, you don't know how. I'm like, I'm keeping it smooth. Look at me go, not spinning the tyres. And then I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, Shane and Jamie are battling, keep into it. I'm watching them run each other off the road, and I'm like, this is amazing. And then I'm like, oh, they're going to get to me here. Where are they going to make moves? So I'm like, don't even really know what I'm doing. I'm propping them in the middle of corners, I'm stopping and letting Jamie hit me and doing all this stuff. I'm like, oh, if I can keep him behind me for 1 or 2 laps, he might cook his tyres. And best thing is, because they fought, Jamie got to me with not much tyre left. Like he actually didn't have enough, and I was quite quick through sector 1, so I could get a big gap because they were really good through, I think it's turn 6, down the hill, and then up through there. And I was like, oh, I just got to keep him behind. And then I remember winning that race. That's the coolest race still of my career because it was awesome. And I remember going to the podium, and Shane and Jamie aren't talking to each other. They're real unhappy. And I'm like, how good's that, boys? That was awesome. And they're like, no, that was average. But,
so when Jamie gives you team orders now, it's like, mate, hang on a second. Let's back it up a little bit. Yeah,
you've always got that in your back pocket. But no, it's generally Dado giving the team orders. Probably a reason for that. That was cool. I tell you what, though, the group we had at Erebus at that time, it is saying like those 4 weeks at Sydney were fun. Not only on track, off track was awesome. Hey,
and you've joined 888 now, so you see how big that operation is. And obviously I'm at DJR now, so it's I'm going through the same sort of, I guess, process you went through last year. But the amount of individual performances from those people at Erebus was pretty like incredible. Like probably not much probably gets spoken about Brad Tremaine much, B1. But he was a massive part and always did massive hours. And it's like you look back at like I guess my last two or 3 years there and like what I was able to achieve there. Same with you. It's pretty actually incredible when you look back at it.
The thing when you look back at Erebus is how hard everyone, like you can see how we probably couldn't win as consistently as Triple Eight around that period and how they did. But you had someone like Tom Moore, one engineer, like doing everything there. When I look at that now, and you'd be the same at DJR, he was doing the job of 5 guys. Like he literally was doing the job there of what 4 of our guys would do at Triple Eight, like as in radios, engineering, data engineering. We didn't have a data engineer at that time.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Oh, we had Wayne.
Oh yeah, well that's true. But he was Wayne across 3 cars,
God
Super
bless
2
you,
and
Wayne.
everything. Yeah, so there was everyone had to really knuckle down there and try and, I guess you had to try and, it was hard to probably do the 1% as correct because you had to get you just had to smash out everything. It was one of those things. Right. It wasn't get in and perfectly do it. It was just get in and get it done. So that was cool. That was a cool time with Erebus, and I think we had an awesome first year. I think we skip over, like either way, like we both had okay years in 2022, but it wasn't amazing. The cars, like the engines,
I started off really good, but
you start off good. It was like we both had. Well, to be honest, it wasn't bad at all. You were like 7th and I was 11th in the championship, which in a Gen 2 car was actually pretty good at that time. But it just wasn't. We didn't get any huge standout results that year. Or I think you were on the podium at Bathurst, though, weren't you?
No, only in 2021.
Oh, okay.
But I led a majority with D-Russ, the 2022 one. But then the safety cars started coming out, and that's when the motor stuff released. I was getting swamped.
Yeah, right.
So that was a bit.
I remember that, and then so pretty much that year was okay. But then going into 2023. There's another one where like they, Erebus knuckled down and they're like, we're going to build our own cars.
Brodie had a plan for what, 2 years about Gen 3. And I was like, I remember we were pissed that Gen 3 didn't come out in 2022 because those Gen 2 cars were at the end of their, I mean, you'd crashed yours about 500 times.
Yeah, they just, and we didn't have brand new cars. Like that car was like, we were running like 2016 cars. So we're pretty keen for Gen 3. But Gen 2 was a hard, like when you think back, Triple Eight and Penske, DJ, like Penske at the time,
it's crazy.
They are qualifying people by 4/10 at Perth and
that really happens anymore.
It doesn't really happen. I think right now is probably the most competitive. Like, you had people like LDM running at the time that were 2 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now, like you'd think Blanchard's are struggling a bit, but Courtney was 5th at Townsville. That's just gone. So there's no bad teams right now. So Gen 2 was, I thought, quite hard to win races and everything there. But then, Barry sort of had a pretty good plan. Like, once again, like he was pretty dedicated to building really good cars.
When he was dedicated to doing something, he stuck to it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was very true. He was dedicated to building the best cars, making sure the guys put in the effort heading into 2023. And I don't know how Tom and George came up with it, really, when I think back at the time. Like, obviously...
You remember the first debriefs we had about that car and, like, the setup philosophy? It's like, it's not that far from, like...
No, it's not. It's not far
It's actually, like, crazy how they...
This is what confused me, because I think, like, you do now as well. You have a lot of tools at DJR. Yeah. We have a lot of tools at Triple Eight, if that's, all the... What do you call it? I don't even know these days. What is it?
Like all the simulation stuff.
All the simulation stuff and that. We had none of that at Erebus or anything there, but... Tom and George came up with this obviously set up, and we rolled it out. And I remember actually you were really good the first day. You shook your car down. The second day I shook mine down, and the front had dropped.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? Like through the sweeper, I was losing like 4/10, and we're like, why am I so far off? Like this is so bad. And then they're like. And then we worked out towards the end of the day, we're like, we think the skids are hitting on the front. Yeah. It's causing understeer, and lift it up, and straight away, like 3 or 4/10.
Yeah, straight away.
There. So we caught up on a few things pretty quickly, and then we rolled out at... It was weird. Like, I probably, thinking back, didn't have the confidence to think, I'm going to win. So we rolled out at...
Do you remember what I was like though at the start of that?
You were pretty confident with that.
Yeah, I was like literally saying in team briefings and stuff, I'm like, the only way we're going to lose the... I'm like, what did I say? I said, I'm like, we can only lose the championship this year. I remember saying something like that. It was like, we can only lose the championship this year, basically, or something like that.
That was after Winton Test Day when all the cars go there.
Yeah.
And I didn't think we're that, but then everyone at the end of the day was like, oh, freaking, you guys are the ones to beat. And we're like, oh, really?
Like, we're like a second up the road.
Yeah, like it was quite good. So we rolled out at Newcastle. That was the last year in Newcastle. You put on pole like twice, didn't you? Pole and
no, we put it on pole for the first race, and then the rear calipers were on upside down.
Oh yeah. We worked that out later.
That was a funny one. So,
I think a few people were doing that.
Yeah, so that actually happened to a few people, but the calipers have to go a specific way because the wheels go one way.
Yep.
And if they don't go a specific way, the brake pads taper. So
yep.
I started on pole, and then I started getting really bad rear locking in the race, and that was pretty funny old
I do remember that. But you had a really good weekend. Like you probably came out that weekend like
I was like second or third in the championship.
And I was probably like ninth, and I was like, wasn't a bad weekend. But then from there, it just started to. I think we went to like Tassie, say, and Grand Prix and all that, like Grand Prix in the wet. We had obviously an awesome quality. We out qualified by 2 seconds. The whole field. Yeah, I remember that. Everyone knows probably now.
Yeah.
But I think like the old wets had to be quite high in pressure, and I think everyone rolled out close to that.
Do you remember we changed it right before quali?
I don't know how you came up with that. It was actually you.
I literally went up to the tyre and I felt it, and I was like, put these, like set these to these pressures. And I remember everyone was looking at me like I was like an alien and I looked like ET or something.
Yeah.
And then we went out on the outlap. Do you remember the outlap? We passed the whole field on the outlap.
People were blistering on the outlap. Like people were like running off the track. And I'm like, what's going on with this guy? Like I thought, like I was watching you and you out qualified me, but I was like 4 or 5 tenths behind you. And I thought I was amazing out there. I passed 3 people on my qualifying lap. I'm like, holy God, I'm good in the wet. Look at me go. And it was just tyres. We just got them right. So you were like 2 seconds out of the field. I was like 5 tenths off you and you were 2 seconds out of third. So that was interesting. But then even Tassie, I won 2 races.
Yeah, you did. You dominated Tassie.
Yeah, Tassie was good. But that year I don't know. That year was a cool year. Like everyone put the work in. We were both fast. But I don't know. I think at some stage we'll probably get to it. I don't know how much we'll talk about, but obviously we had an awesome time. You obviously got the NASCAR opportunity.
I did, yeah. Yeah, I did. So I was
really
actually working on that for a while because I obviously started out my car career over there.
Yep.
And got to a point where my parents got divorced over there and all that sort of stuff. So I had to come back to Australia. And I never really felt like I sort of closed like that chapter over there to go, I guess, finish that off.
Sort of a quick. You weren't planning to come back, really, were you?
No, I wasn't planning to come back, so it was a pretty tough decision. But to be honest, like I, sort of had a pretty good upbringing. Had a really good grandfather that always, always gave me a lot of life lessons. But I didn't really quite understand it until I was probably at an older age, and I realised that when I come back to Australia, that you just have to, make the most of what you got basically and be glass half full. So, yeah, sort of got kickstarted my career, fast forward, and I was like, I really want to go have another crack over there and just, see if I would miss it, enjoy it, or vice versa. And so got a deal lined up with RCR, obviously with Pete Adderton to back it. He was a pretty big backer of mine through Paul Morris, through the even the wildcard stuff in 2019. He sponsored my car in 2021 when Erebus had no sponsors, and sponsored both cars in 2022. Yeah. So like he really loved the underdog story, and to be honest, he got everything for pretty cheap at the time as well.
Yeah,
he's a hustler. He's really good at.
Yeah, he does a good job. He puts his money where his mouth is, but he always knows where to get it.
Yeah, he's a really good operator, and he's got a really good offside of Jace as well. Yep. So built up a pretty good relationship with them, and he was just starting up Mobile X over there, and floated him the idea of maybe doing something over there, and obviously was having a really good year in 2023. And so doing what Pete does, sees that it's a really good media opportunity. So went over and got a deal lined up through the team, through Erebus at the time, through RCR. Got to meet Richard Childress, and got to obviously do that deal over there and race the Indianapolis road course. So expectations were really high because Shane had obviously gone and won Chicago. And so like we put in a lot of effort, and like we went to America for that trip. Remember going on that trip there, and you spent half the time dead in your...
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. We went all the way there, and I wanted to go check out this. Like you were over there, you probably had an opportunity. They were pretty keen at the time to run you, and I was like the little brother that Mum said you have to take, and I was like, I'll get to have. You know what I mean? Like that was literally me. I'm like, can I come? So that was me, and then we got over there and I got this horrible flu.
I
And
remember.
I had like this basement of the house. I had the bottom story of the basement.
Because we're in this Airbnb.
And I was just dying. I remember I was like getting up at 2 a.m. sweating so bad. And then I was like, I go and run in a bath and lie in there. And you guys came in the morning. You're like, you want to come to the jam thing? And I'm just lying down there dead. I'm like, I can't come, guys.
I remember checking in on you and you were dripping in sweat with the covers on. And I'm like,
Oh, it was so
We're
bad.
gonna
I
lose
remember
more round.
Nathan joked. He like said after we left, he goes, "Oh mate, we've got to pay a cleaning bill because they said you wet the bed." And I was like, "I didn't pee the bed. I was sweating." And he was taking the piss out of me.
Nate said that, didn't he?
Yeah, Nate
that's
said
it. Yeah.
that. So that was good. But I sort of missed out on checking out the Jam Sim there. And I remember you guys getting home and I was like, "Oh, how'd you go there?" And you're like, "Yeah, ran on the Jam Sim, did really good times, amazing, met Richard." And I was like, "Oh," and this is before you got the opportunity, before it was locked in. This was the trip before. And then we went away from that, and I didn't obviously get to see a lot of it because I was sick. We had a great time, great holiday, and then when we got back, you were like, "Oh, I think I'm going to be able to do Indy," which was awesome. But this probably gets to the stage when Erebus sort of blew up. I guess this is probably, unfortunately, it's probably around that time that that we were running well. There was a bit going on in the team behind the scenes, probably.
We'd had a bad Darwin when we come back.
Yeah,
remember
had
that?
a bad
Not
Dar-
a bad Darwin. Like we finished 4th and 5th or something for the races.
Terrible,
It wasn't terrible.
For what we were running that year. But yeah, it was just there was a few things I guess both of us probably weren't happy with at the time and were kicking back on. And got to Townsville and I actually just took over you in the championship at Townsville. I think I had a really good Townsville.
You did, because I had a bad race Saturday.
Yeah, you had a bad race and I was 7 points ahead of you coming out of Townsville. Yep. But leaving Townsville, Jamie, we heard that Shane had obviously gone over. He'd won Chicago. Then on that weekend, I think they obviously noticed that Shane may leave and leaving the track. My old man just said hello to Jamie or said like, oh, something like joking how Dad does. Oh, one day we'll drive 888 or Red Bull. Or Jamie's like, oh, well, maybe you should give me a call. And I didn't call or anything like that, but I think about a week later they noticed that Shane was going to leave and they're trying to work out.
They were stressing about that at that point because I remember.
It was kind of weird that Jamie said at the time, oh, if he wants to go, he can go. Because I think that kind of opened Shane's eyes to, okay, I've been offered a deal over there and they're going to let me out. But I think Jamie didn't have many options when he said that. So it was kind of hard. But the other thing, it was a weird one, but Shane wasn't probably happy in Australia. And I reckon the sponsors at 888 could see that and Jamie could see that. So they said he could go, but then it opened up this massive it
was an opportunity for one of us to...
Yeah, and obviously my name, your name was on the table, and then they were trying to look around and see who else they could get. I remember Kai's name was getting thrown up a bit and a few others. So
even Richie's at the time was...
they just didn't have... There wasn't a massive opportunity there. So Jamie rang me and I'm like, how do I do this? I'd love to go over there. My thing being is I'm a bit of a used car salesman, obviously, and I had 1 year left on my deal, but I was thinking that... And this is just the honest truth. I didn't think it was sustainable at Erebus to keep on winning. I think I thought we were doing a great job, but we weren't spending a heap of money and all of that sort of stuff like Red Bull was at the time and that. And I thought, these seats only become available once every now and then.
Right.
It doesn't come up. If I don't take this seat, it's not going to come up for another 10 years because there'll be Brock there and a young guy.
And I guess that's where the stuff started behind the scenes was we were trying to make it sustainable.
We were, yeah. And we wanted to make Erebus that, we wanted to stay there for a long time, that both of us could stay there. And I guess it just didn't work out that way. And then I was trying to figure out how do I make this work. I got a contract here. I had mates. I had obviously you and I were really good mates. We've driven for 3 years. 3 years. George and Tom and everyone. It was a great environment. So I felt like I was cheating on people nearly. But it got to the stage I was like, okay, well, I can't really go up against Betty and that, but I'm going to ring her. Betty's been good to me the whole time. I'm going to ring her and ask if I can get out of my contract because they offered me some good stuff at the time. Like I'd get GT racing, which they did do to me, get to race in obviously the supercars for them with a long-term deal and a lot of things that I guess I was keen on. And Betty was great. I remember calling her and telling her, and I'm like, God, this is going to go two ways. Like, if she says no and then tells Barry, my life's gonna be hell for another year here. So I'm like, oh God, this is a hard call. And I said, oh, I just want to let you know I've had an opportunity arise, and that was with 888. Jamie's called me and she said, well, I knew he would have called one of you. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, to be honest, I remember her words. She's like, oh, well, if I was if I was your mum or if I was your mum, I'd tell you to go and do it. But as the team owner, I've got to think about how that works with us. But she said, like, I think it's a great opportunity for you, and I think that I'll let you go. And I was like, far out, this conversation's going awesome. Like, I didn't think this would happen.
I remember when it started happening, Barry actually called me and said, I don't care if Will leaves, but as long as you don't go.
Yeah. Well, that was this is when it all sort of you were literally flying out for America the next day. We're at Normal, and I was taking calls. And you were like, "What's going on?" And you sort of sensed that something was going on, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I already knew. I mean, it's pretty. You can see the writing on the wall, but I remember RD being there that day, and and like that's when I knew. I was like, oh, that's when you disappeared off with RD for a little bit, and because obviously RD had a was still part of T at the time, but I think he had more of a vested interest in making sure Shane had a clean out and, got to go do what he wanted to do in America and that sort of stuff. So that was like, you were a part of that basically as being his replacement. So,
so Betty, she didn't really say that she was definitely going to do it. Like she said, yes, you could, like, I'm going to work it out and you should be able to go do it. So I rang Jamie. I'm like, I think this is I think we're going ahead with this. And then, it was like 2 days later. I'm like, I've heard nothing. I better ring Betty and ask her. And she's like, yeah, no, I said I could do it. I'll ring Jamie and let him know. And I'm like, oh, what about Barry? Like, because Barry is a hard ass, and obviously, we work with him for a long time. And I also felt bad there leaving that.
Barry and you and my relationship with Barry was different.
Yeah. Yes, it was but I was like, oh shit, she's gonna tell. So she said I could go and like I'll let you out and do all this, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then she's like, but I'll have to ring Barry and I'll let him know and I'll sort that out. And then I remember I was at my sister's wedding getting ready and I see this phone call from Barry and I'm like, oh no, here it goes.
How long did you let it ring for?
I picked up. I was like, I can't be a pussy. I got to pick this up. So I picked it up and I remember him. He was so unhappy. But the biggest thing is me and Barry definitely got along but then we had our arguments and that. But that's how Barry. For everyone at home. That's how Barry is. Like he sort of forgets about it pretty quickly, and it's kind of like your dad. You sort of argue with him, but that's
actually
dad.
Probably a good way to explain it.
You can't, you don't hate each other after kind of because you just got to get along, and that's sort of what it was like. It was a weird dynamic, and he said to me, he's like, it would be like my daughter going down the road and moving in with another family and a family I hate, and I'm like. So like he thinks of me as a son. I was having this weird moment. I was like, okay, right. And then I was like, I feel terrible. Like, why to make me? He didn't even really yell at me. He was just disappointed, and that was the worst part. Like,
so that's why there's photos of your sisters where they're crying.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I was like, I would have rather him yell at me. He was actually just disappointed in me, and I'm like, oh, well, this.
He was very disappointed.
This sucks, but yeah. And then I remember at the time, that's pretty much when Barry went and did the team meeting. And told obviously George and all that, and he's a bit more obviously, what would you call it? Like out there, Barry gets a bit more angry, and B1 was probably similar at the time. And they're like, nah, take him out of the car. Don't run the rest of the he's not driving the car.
Yeah, they'll like take you out of the car if he doesn't want to be here. Don't put him in here.
Yeah, which is normal stuff. But George and Tom were quite good because they're like, we want to win the team's championship, and the only way we think to do that is with Will in the car.
Yeah.
So
you're the best person for the job.
Yeah, so that was good. So it actually didn't like that year. The end of the year was tough. Like you came back from America, obviously around that time, and depending on if you want to talk about it, there was a fair bit going. But you came back and just like, I don't know.
I was defensive in making sure you had the same opportunity as myself to run for the championship. So I was, and obviously all that was happening and pull you out of the car, and I was highly against that. Like, I wanted to, we'd put in a lot of effort to build the team up. Like it wasn't just us, but it was like, we also owed it to Tom, George, and everyone else. Like B1, I mean, he couldn't see it at the time because he was obviously siding with Barry. But I think we owed the opportunity to everyone to finish the year on a high.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was pretty on a, that's what I wanted to do was to have it as equal as possible. So there was definitely a lot of like stuff going on around behind the scenes when I was in America, and then. Yeah, Taylor and Ben was a pretty interesting weekend. Do you remember that?
You were pretty worked up about the whole thing, pretty angry, and George goes at the start of the weekend, Brodie, we just, don't get too angry. We need your focus for this weekend. And I remember you saying to him in the trailer, you're quite angry, and you're like, George, I do my best work when I'm angry, and I'm like, what's this guy talking about? Like, all right. And then you go out and you polled every race, won every race, and I'm like, far out, nobody work him up before every weekend because he is fast.
But it was like, because it just, we went out for practice that weekend, and I can't remember how you went in practice, but I had steering dramas in practice, and I was like, couldn't even complete a lap, so I was losing it over that because like the steering wasn't good, and then it just was like, I was just like, now Brodie doesn't want to be here, and it just became like real messy, and I remember the first laps I did at least was in qualifying, and then I did the lap in qualifying. I was on pole by 6/10, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, you were fast. I was like 12th, but then I crashed in like 2 of the race. So we went from like, I was like 20 points behind you that weekend.
That's right, yeah.
To I was like 200 off you because you won every race, and I crashed in one DNF'd, and then I didn't have the best results there. So you got a big jump ahead there. And then pretty much throughout the rest of the year, you pretty much, it was kind of the role Brock was on. Like you were just polling you just went out in a shootout and you'd always pole it. Like,
it was just, I don't know, just like, that was sort of just like the back half of the year was just, I don't know, pretty crazy for, I guess, like our side of the garage. It was like super competitive. You were really competitive at times too.
Yeah.
But it was just probably the same on your side of the garage. Like I remember some of your...
It's always going to, and I look back on it, I was down at the time, but I always knew that was going to happen. But also it's hard to keep even, like, we worked a lot on keeping our mechanic, like, we do a lot with our mechanics, and they were great guys, but worked on keeping them together. And my side of the garage, it's hard to keep your team together when you're leaving them, I mean, you've kind of said, it's kind of like saying to your girlfriend, I'm leaving you in 6 months' time. She's not going to be happy with you for those 6 months. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a good point.
So it sort of fell apart on my side of the garage. I think the boys put in a lot of effort, but you pretty much went on to have, really good success that year. And I remember coming down to Adelaide. We went into Adelaide. You were leading the championship. I was like 3rd or 4th. I crashed. Anton and me went in the fence, but I took Shane out with me when I did that accidentally. So you'd won the championship, which was cool. That was a tough weekend because I remember the team were like, "What? Why'd you go around the outside there? That was stupid." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't try going the fence, but also you've won the championship." Like,
I remember after that race specifically, like it was like so strange to me because like they were really pissed at you.
Yeah, and I was like,
but they literally locked up the teams and the drivers.
That's right. Yeah, me like, and it wasn't. I deliberately took Shane out because he crashed into me.
Yeah,
It locked everything up.
I can understand they probably wanted to get 2 good results for the cars, but like it literally locked the drivers and the team championship that race.
That's what I was confused about.
And I'm like, guys, what's the big drama? I'm like, just
So that was awesome. It was cool. I remember at the time, like you always want it to be yourself. You always want to win the championship, but it was really cool seeing you win the championship, doing the burnout, everything like that. It sort of gives you that motivation to try and get there. You know
exactly.
what I mean? When you don't, like if you're just succeeding all the time, it's always great, but it's always those moments where you're like, far out, look at that, Brodie's won the championship. Look at that moment, him stand on the car, and you're like, that's what I want to get to one day. So it was cool to be part of Erebus at that time, and like even, it's hard having Red Bull on board now, but having Coca-Cola that year was massive for us, obviously, because
remember how much merch the flags.
There was lots of merch sold for us. We came from smaller brands, like Boost was good, but to get that year was big for the team. We're like, wow, was all a really big moment, and then for you to win that. So that's sort of when it all sort of set off. Like I sort of just went to Triple Eight then. We sort of went our own ways, like still really good friends. Obviously over the off season, I was preparing, and unfortunately for you, sort of what happened, I was lucky enough to get let out in that. And I guess with some of the stuff going on in the team, you guys didn't run for the first couple of rounds, which was
2 rounds,
which was interesting. I think you look back and it was such a big deal at the time, but now it's not really. You know what I mean? It's amazing that
it's just car racing the other day. It's not, not that.
But I thought it was great for the sport because it hit 7 news, it hit 9 news. I was like. It's kind of the old thing. Any media is good media.
It's like the Kardashian.
It was like good for the sport. Like it was unfortunate for you sitting at home watching, and but I thought like this is the first time it was the biggest thing. Around.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough
you'd
time.
won the championship.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough time for me, and probably for a lot of the team members and stuff as well, not being able to go out.
Yeah, and back it up.
Yeah, start of the year and go back it up, but and then I guess that's when all the stuff happened with, then coming back, and then obviously with Pete, and then you stealing my drive.
That's right. But well, that's when, I guess, unfortunately for you, you'd had the year before that, won the championship and that, but sort of positioned myself with Triple Eight, and I was having a really good year. And I had like I think I was 4 rounds in, and I was leading the championship, had a lot of good race, and I thought, unfortunately for you, you weren't going to get the opportunity to go back. And I knew Pete and everyone was unhappy at the time, and there was a bit of falling out between, I think, Paul,
Pete,
Morris, Pete, yourself. And that sort of stuff. And I thought at the time, I really want to go do NASCAR, and I didn't want to, but I knew what you were like. I knew you wouldn't care. It's just, it is what it is.
I was happy to go see you, to go do it. And to be honest, like after I did, like I really enjoyed going and doing it, but I also knew the toll it took, like just to get it all organized. Yeah. It's that's what a lot of people don't understand at home. It's like, to get to where we've gotten to today, it's not cheap. No. It's fine if you get there. But it's the same thing when you go, like it's still motorsport, and we still have, I guess, the accolades to go do it, but it still costs money to go do it. And
that's where a lot of the drivers are not bagging the drivers down pit lane, but they won't put in the effort to go and do the NASCAR thing, even if they got the opportunity. See, first of all, I guess, to explain the NASCAR situation overseas, like Shane obviously got an opportunity. It was all funded for him, and that was awesome. And he was at a stage in his career that opportunity should have been free. But you got to, I think he was 33 or 4 when he went and raced Chicago. We were a lot younger than that. Shane had a name really worldwide. Like, a lot of people knew who Shane was. If that's from going and racing GT and all that sort of stuff.
Also
everyone
being
knew
a Red Bull driver athlete as well.
Yeah.
Carries weight everywhere.
Been around for a long time, where for us, we'd gone and watched him, and then we want to go do it. But you don't have straight away, like the teams knowing Brodie Kostecki or Will Brown. It's just not as big of a name. We were 25, 6 at the time. So you got to convince a team, which you'd convinced RCR, and I'd met him during that time, and Richard as well. So you got to meet them and get the opportunity to rise, and them say, yeah, we're keen to run you, but it's going to cost X. So then you've got to go find the sponsors, which it's the same as it's pretty much the same cost as a supercar weekend. It's to go over there and do NASCAR is, around the 500,000 to actually go and run competitively and do it all. So to go find all the sponsors, make everything work and make it happen is a massive effort. So obviously you're able to make that happen at Indy with Pete and some of my sponsors at the time, Earl and all that. With your fallout, it probably allowed me to pick up that Richard Childress drive, because you weren't going to go do it, pick up a fair few of your sponsors. Unfortunately for you, I was able to pick them up and go do Sonoma. So that was awesome to go over and do that. I think for both of us to say that we've raced in a NASCAR race, that was probably something I was quite proud of, even if I didn't run well.
Yeah, it was. It was quite a big moment. Like I crashed out in qualifying.
Yeah, yep.
Did a typical Will Brown maneuver.
yeah.
But I got to run the race and drove back up through the race. It was quite I enjoyed the experience, but it was just a lot of hard work. And then obviously you got to do the Sonoma one, and you went through sort of similar thing. It was just like a lot of effort, but I was glad to see you go have another crack at Chicago. And then I'm watching 3 laps in, what is it? Was it even 3 laps in?
Yeah. It was. I think I hadn't even started my 3rd lap. We're literally about to. And to be honest, Chicago was harder than I expected. Sonoma I actually found quite all right. Like if I didn't have the dramas at Sonoma, I felt like I could run well in the top 10 and be really competitive. But we had 50 minutes of practice at Sonoma. It was a smooth track. It was pretty easy. Like the simulator really correlated, and probably similar for Chicago. But at Chicago, that track was so rough. Like I've never experienced anything like it. On the track walk, there's potholes. There's the surface is nothing like what we run on here. Like I don't think we'd run on that sort of surface here, to be honest. And also no escape roads. Like if you lock up and run off, you hit the fence.
I was going to say, do you reckon because obviously they run to their own standards there, so they've done a street race. And do you reckon if there was yellow flags or yellow lights, you would have not made the crash?
Well, I'm not sure, because my spotter told me, like I was like, I need to get a good run through here and catch back up on it. And so that lap I was like aiming to get a good run through that. And I literally got through that and noticed the crash, and I'm like, oh no. And I heard my spotter as I said that, like, crash up ahead, check up. And old mate, I can't remember who went right, but the crash there, someone went right and stopped. So I was trying to go right, and then when he stopped, I'm like, I have nowhere to go. So I just locked up straight into it. But
did you close your eyes?
I can't even remember, to be honest. I'm not
so
sure.
You did close your eyes?
Yeah, I probably closed my eyes, just did the whole... It was actually quite a hard hit, but the weird thing over there is, and luckily Shane told me before the race, I didn't even know, blue flags are our yellow flags. He's like, yeah, it's so weird, the blue flags, you're not lapping, it means there's a crash.
But that's such a Shane thing to say, like, because you'd have been going, oh, this guy's just taking the piss, because he always used to do that, remember? He'd always just...
And I'm like, blue flag for a crash. What? I was so confused, but that was I felt like it was disappointing. I remember sitting there in the car and I was kind of a bit disappointed for all the people that had funded it because it was so expensive to go do. But like also people like, Ainsley that came with me who does all my social media, Dave Ellis who put in a lot of
I don't know how she puts up with you.
I know, I don't know how. How do you do that, Ainsley? But just everyone in general, everyone had come over and put in such a big effort. And it's not just the sponsors. Like you have to do the concussion, the drug test.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes.
You have to do the licensing. Like their licensing over there, you have it's a big module.
It's a week process.
Yeah, so I had to
do the licensing
all this stuff. And then I went over there and I got 6 laps in practice and I got 2 in qualifying. And the hardest thing was when I got there, I remember, Ainsley will probably remember this as well. She's in here with us. But I got there and then it was 4 days out from the race and they go, oh yeah, the field's oversubscribed. There's 41 cars and only 40 are allowed to race. So out of the 5 wild cards, we'd call them here, 1 has to go home. And I'm like, well, how's that work? And then
so someone else has paid the amount you've paid and had to pack up and go home.
That's right. Everyone spent this amount of money that I've spent, but one of us have to go home. But I've come from Australia. A lot of people are Americans that are running it. So I'm like, it would have been great to be locked in. But then I see on Twitter that they put up that if it rains and qualifying doesn't go ahead, Will Brown will be the one to go home because he's the last car.
I remember you calling me about it.
And I called you, but I was like, far out. Like how am I going to I slept that night, but I was pretty concerned. I'm like, I
remember you called me. You were actually like, I could tell you were like shitting yourself about it.
I was like, Pete from Mobile X, like Pete, he's not going to be happy if I don't run. Like he's paid the money. Like Earl's paid. Like all these people have paid the money. I'd tipped in money myself, and for it to rain and I'd get maybe practice or not even practice and qualifying over there, they might just not run, and then they just send them out for the race in whatever order. So I was like, far out. So I was stressing like for days. I'm like, oh God, and then get to the track and then I worked out. So if I crash in practice, because qualifying straight after and I can't get back out, I go home. If I crash in qualifying in my first 2 laps, I lose my fast lap, so I go home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it put a lot of pressure on it because I didn't just go out there. Generally, you have a backup car at NASCAR, so you can really go out there and be like, balls to the wall, I got a backup car, let's have a crack. And usually you don't crash, but had that in the back of my mind. So get through practice, we were 3rd, about 4 tenths off Shane, and then went out there in quali and I was like, okay, I got to bank 2 laps to beat, Catherine and some of those guys. If I can bank 2 laps on my green, just okay laps, that should get me through. And then
just put yourself on the field.
Yeah, put myself in the field. And then I can go out there and do a fast lap.
It's such a long race too as well.
So that was good enough for 18th. And then I went back out there for my fast lap and ran down the escape road. I think I could have been like, I was nowhere near Shane. He's in a bit of a league of his own right now with what he's doing over there. But I reckon I could have been like 10th to like top 10, 10th to 5th on that lap. But I just pushed too hard after obviously it didn't, and just ran down the escape road. So that was my qualifying over. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing because I think a lot of the build into the weekend made it hard to qualify, and then obviously you're behind.
And you generally do a lot better when you're not thinking too.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking. So I was behind Carson. And then, obviously the crash happened. So that was disappointing. I remember at the time there was a lot of talk about the DJ. Like, I thought you were going to Premier.
Yeah, where I was going to go, yeah.
That's what I thought. And there was DJR Premier both hunting you. And I guess Barry also pretty much made it, like said, yeah, Brodie's going to leave at the end of this year. But we weren't sure where you were going. And I heard a lot of rumors. But how'd you pick DJR over Premier? Like, what were your reasons there? Because at the time I thought Pete's spending a fair bit of money. He's still very invested. He wanted a good driver at the time. Like, I was nearly leaning that you might head that way. But then you signed with DJR. So what were the reasons, or what made you think, yeah, DJR's a place, and you took Tom and George with you? Explain all of that sort of situation.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty lengthy process. It was meant to be a lot shorter initially, obviously with contract restrictions when you can talk to people, that sort of stuff. But yeah, Barry was pretty good out of it and was pretty much trying to wheel me out the door at one point.
Yeah, he wanted to get rid of you. Yeah.
Then that changed after Bathurst and Gold Coast. He's like, it's so sad to see you go type thing. Yep. But it was a pretty, it was a new process for me, having 2 people trying to, 2 teams trying to basically headhunt you basically at the same time. So, it was pretty lucky to have pretty good people around me like Paul and stuff to give me good advice, and met obviously with Pete a few times, and met with everyone at DJR, like the Doc and Ralph, Brett Ralph, and Mark Fenning, who's the team principal there now. And to be honest, I just spoke to a lot of people, like George, for example. I lent on him a fair bit because he'd worked with a lot of people at DJR at the time, like Mark. He actually went to university with him back in the day, so they're quite close. And I sort of just worked out what was going to be the most sustainable way going forward. And obviously DJR weren't at, I guess, the place where they wanted to be, and they obviously had a pretty big fall from grace after Scotty left and didn't quite have the results they wanted. And was obviously speaking to Pete a fair bit. He was more newer into the sport and was looking for a bit of direction, probably through me. And it was like, it's a lot to take on your shoulders to go to a team that's like the same size as Erebus effectively. It doesn't have much around it, and, build it up. And I saw it as like a 4-year or 3-year stint there to get it to the level where you're going to go beat, like a team like, Triple Eight that you're in. And it was pretty simple in the end of just that DJR had more infrastructure, had more, I guess, more backing behind it, and had some really good people there. I just felt like it just needed a few injections around, and I feel like I could probably, make an impact on that team at a quicker rate than I could at Premier, for example. So that's how I sort of ended up there. And to be honest, when I met Brett Ralph for the first time, which are some of the majority owners at DJR, I never spoken to him once before in my life, and they've got an interest in a few other sports teams like the Melbourne Storm and NBL team and all that sort of stuff. So been around the sporting stuff for quite a while. Probably similar to like what Earl is with Sherwin Partners, and love their sports and all that sort of stuff, and just love getting around it. And I remember meeting him for the first time at Norwell with Paul, and he rolled up and he was wearing like a flannel shirt, a t-shirt, shoes that looked like they'd just walked 5,000 kilometers, just like a down to earth Aussie guy. And he basically told me why he wanted me and where he thought I could make an impact.
Yep.
And really made me feel pretty wanted. So, and he had a plan, and he was sticking to it. So, just gave me a lot of, I guess security and like what I wanted to do. And George was adamant, DJR's the best way to go.
Yep.
Knowing Rowdy, Mark Fenning there, so, and all the tools they have there. So that's sort of how that sort of happened. And Tom was sort of a bit of a late one. Like he was ready for another role. Like he sort of had grown to his highest position he could go to at Erebus effectively. Yep. There was no way up for him really. I think Barry actually offered him to be head of the engineering, but he was already.
Yeah, he was.
So he was getting a different email title, but he wanted to get. It was more about having more skills about managing people and building his, building himself up. To be able to manage people and move up into a bigger role. So I sort of put his name forward, and I said, I think Tom would be a really great fit for this team of someone that you're looking for, and George obviously really wanted to go to DJR, and so it was more so like I didn't have to drag them with me. They just saw that that this place could be a great place.
Yep.
So it just needs like a few injections, like I said. So that's how that sort of all come about. And it was all my dealings with them have been great, and it's just a really cool organisation to be a part of. Probably similar experience to how you've been with Triple Eight.
I think looking back now and then seeing what they've done this year as well, and the injection of cash and how much the Ralph family and everyone at DJR wants to improve, it's sort of they've got the infrastructure, they've got the people, they're spending the money in all the right place. Obviously, you have to put that all together, but some other teams aren't doing that. You know what I mean? It's
not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. And at least you guys have got probably the tools you need, and it'll come together at some point, like Townsville and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not easy. Like the best thing about Triple Eight is the amount, how good their personnel is, how long all of those guys have been there. Like Dutto, Gooey, Jamie's obviously been there forever, but all those guys and everyone just the people. I guess Triple Eight spend the money as well and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it was a crazy switch from Erebus to come across there and walk through the doors. Yeah,
I'd be pretty fortunate to actually deal with a lot of those guys, with the Super2 stuff and everything. So the way those guys operate, obviously pretty close to RD as well. So the way those guys operate is really impressive, and just the way they structured those team around believing they've got the two best drivers and there's no excuses around those was I think how they're so successful today is, always believe they got the two best drivers and everything's, the onus is always on them. Yeah. Whereas I think you see a lot of teams these days, the drivers end up being the fall more than they probably should at some points.
Yeah, they're the fall guy. The hardest thing as well, though. I think they invest a lot of time and effort in that and think they have the two best, but also as a driver, you think you have the best team. So when you're having a bit of a bad run, like what probably I'm not having the best run right now in Brock is, you're like, far out, is it me? Like, you gotta look at yourself sometimes. And I think we found a few things with my car after Darwin, and I was quite competitive at Townsville. I probably let my car down.
You look back to your normal self again on the Sunday, for example.
Right. We were pretty good all weekend. Just sort of qualifying was a bit average. It was average on Friday and all weekend, but I did that to myself. Yeah, I know I do. But I did that to myself. I know, like at Darwin, I felt like I was actually doing good laps.
I remember speaking to you and you were like, I felt like I was, because I think we're on the grid next to each other, and I'm like, you're having a shit weekend like me. And then you go to me, oh, mate, like you look like you were about to bloody friggin' on suicide watch. And I'm like, what's up? And he goes, well, imagine me. Like, my teammates won every race this year.
Yeah.
And I'm qualified here. And I went, yeah, you got a good point.
Yeah, but at Darwin and Perth, I felt like I was doing like actually good laps in quali, and I just didn't have the pace. But at Townsville, we did a few things to the car. We changed front clip, changed a bunch of stuff in it. And then, I felt like the car was good. Like, I actually was making mistakes in quali there, which I'll just put my hand up to, and I was qualifying 7th. So felt like I was back to the car was good. Race pace was good. So
it's amazing when a few little things just aren't quite right. They're just absolute turns, effectively.
Right. Yeah,
and that's where people don't quite understand is a lot of the differences between the teams. It's all operational stuff. It's not set up, or it's not,
Well, to be honest, like it's like I saw the Drivers Only podcast the other day of it was three drivers that are customer teams at Triple Eight, and I used to think the same when we were with Erebus. I was like, they don't sell those guys the real setup. We give them everything. Like they've got, like they can watch my footage. They can come up and ask for the footage, but they give all the setup stuff. But then somehow it doesn't seem to work as well in their cars, or whatever doesn't seem to translate. So is it the way it gets put in? Is it there's just so many little things that from driving to car setup to the way there's so much involved in our sport that it's hard to pinpoint what it is. Like, what's the reasoning for it? And that's even hard to pinpoint right now with me and Brock, because Brock's won 10 races, I've won 1, and struggling.
Pretty incredible year.
He's had a really good year. Like he's doing an amazing job, and it's hard to pinpoint it because you start wondering. You're like, well, I'm doing all the same things I did last year, and I beat him in the championship, but now he's beating me. Is it me? Like, you start trying to wonder why you're not beating him. Is the car not as? But the car is. It's just there's so many question marks. But our sport's so hard to pinpoint one.
Well, the good thing is Brock picked a real shit year to just flog everyone
with
the new format. So, I mean, I'd be going into Adelaide, and if he didn't win, obviously win the last 2 races, whatever it is, to win the championship, like I wouldn't be able to sleep like without the years he had. I'm not sure. I think it takes a bit of pressure off us. Like, not a bit of pressure, but I feel like he's had such a good year. You're going to Adelaide, and you're like, I got to win this thing. Because this is the new thing with the championship, the way it's gone, is that really he's like 230 points ahead. It's crazy.
He's so far ahead that if we didn't have the new championship format, there's nearly nothing to talk about in the championship now, because he's going to win it around before the end if he keeps going the way he does. Like, you could always crash at Bathurst and it resets and gets close, but if he doesn't have any screw-ups or anything like that, there's not much to talk about in the championship. It'll be like, I wonder who's going to get 2nd, 3rd. But right now, with the new way it's going, I love it. I would have hated it last year, but I'm loving it this year.
But you won the last race last year.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I had a good race there last year.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened.
That's right. The new format, I think it has, as much as I think it sucks in Brock's situation and in mine last year, and people are going to hate it.
Well, it doesn't suck yet.
Yeah, it doesn't suck yet, but you know what I mean? There's going to be certain people that don't like it as much, but this year there's going to be so much talk about, like, there's going to be 4 drivers go in. I think that not someone will luck in, but it's like yourself, you're 7th right now, 6th?
Yeah, I'm 6th at the moment,
6th.
But it's been really good for us, because our team has had so much change, so so many different personnel move across the different roles and all the stuff, and it's like I think Erebus was under 20 employees, and this organization's just under 50, so it's quite a bit different for me going in and seeing like how sometimes things take a little bit longer to action because there's a lot more moving parts, etc. So we basically just are working backwards from. We're just trying to make it into the final 4 and then work backwards from there. So, at least that's what we tell ourselves anyway.
Yeah. But for you, like, it's like for yourself, you guys probably aren't exactly where you want to be at, but 6 is still good. But you get through, you're fast at Gold Coast. You could win a race at Gold Coast.
I know the back half of the year is like where I love every track, and I think I'm good at every track. But those last circuits seem to be like my bread and butter. So I'm pretty excited about getting stuck into them. But obviously QR's coming up next, and no one's been there before. You guys have tested there a bunch. So,
but even someone like say Woody in incidents, he's coming on. Say he gets into the top 10.
I love Woody.
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a funny bastard.
I've had some fun with him. He is a legend.
I wish he was more himself, like on telly.
Yeah. I think I don't think he could be. I think he'd have no sponsors. So glad he tames it down a little bit, but he is a legend. But if he's in the top 10, he's been coming on. He wins a race at Gold Coast. Well, he's through to Sandown. Like there's so many talking points around the new championship format. So I think it's cool. I think it's a good new format to just create hype and entertainment. Some people that have watched the sport for years are going to go, they don't like it. The most consistent car should win, and that's probably the case. But
they're the purists.
Yeah. But we're at the end of the day, it's the entertainment business. It's making more hype over it. Look at how every time they're putting up who's on the cut line for the top 10, there's more to talk about.
I see, that's the thing. Like, there's probably, some other people talk about, the sport's in a shit place and racing isn't good. Honestly, the racing this year has been pretty insane.
Yeah, I reckon the racing's been awesome.
Yeah.
You're never going to get every race to be amazing. Like, it's just not going to be the case. But this year, there's been 10, 15 good races.
I'm not having a dig at some. Like, you do look at social media, like, after a race, and you'll see the odd comment here and there, the race is shit. But it's like, honestly, like, when I watch a football game, I don't comment on it. Like, I never comment on it if it's a good game. Yeah. I don't comment on if it's a shit game, but it's like no one ever says. There's not many people always say it's a good race. Everyone always talks about it and goes, "Oh, that was a really good race." But there's always you always see people after some races it was shit or whatever else. But honestly, I reckon the racing this year's been
on every single one. Like, couldn't watch it. It's not on free to air. I'm like, that was 10 years ago. I feel like you know what I mean. You got to pay to watch anything you want to these days.
Yeah, it's like everything's sort of changing. So, but it's like the odd person here or there. But like we have some of the most passionate, I guess, fans out there as well. So that also makes it a bit hard as well. It's always like some of the biggest signing sessions of the year is obviously like Bathurst and stuff, and it's like crazy. When we go up to the top of the mountain, you see all the different campsites and people dressed up as...
Oh, it's awesome, hey? Oh. See, this is where I think that, I'm, happy with everything Supercars doing, but I think that Supercars needs to use us more and give us more assets to promote something like Bathurst. Like, why aren't the drivers 2 months out, everyone promoting Bathurst and saying, make this the biggest Bathurst, or putting up their highlights? Like, everyone's got a highlight from Bathurst.
Yeah, but that's why we started this, though, is because maybe it's not, all their fault.
No, I agree. I don't think it is, but... we're fortunate enough that probably we've grown in the sport and can, we've got Ainsley and people to help do this sort of stuff. But other drivers, I'm sure there's drivers on the grid that have had a standout result at Bathurst or a standout qualifying that probably don't have the film clips of that. Like if I was at Supercars, I'd clip that up, send it to them and say, hey, chuck this on your social media coming into Bathurst.
They just don't have people.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I think everyone should be, every driver should be promoting Bathurst because it's our holy grail.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. Everyone should be pumping Bathurst up to the fans out there, getting them excited, getting as many people there as we can. It already is massive, but it's an awesome event to come to. Anyone that's gone there and camped reckons it's amazing. Like all of my friends and families and that have come one year.
Your friends are wild.
Yeah, that's right. All my mates keep coming back. They keep coming back. So it's Bathurst, hopefully it's another big one this year. And one thing that I reckon that I really wanted to cover off in this first episode was Race of Champions. That was my highlight of the year so far. Like I haven't had many race wins, but that was the best. So
that was probably one of the funniest experiences,
funnest weekends
of my entire life. And I was a late call up thanks to your boss. Not being able to come up because I think the cyclone at the time, he wanted to stay with his family, so understandable. But yeah, I remember Crusher, Brett Murray, so one of the I think the previous owner of Speed Cafe called me up. He said, "Oh man, I got this opportunity. Would you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "But you got to speak to Doc first, so Ryan's story, and make sure it's okay." So yeah, made sure it was okay. And then I remember you called me and went, "Oh, I'm so much happier that you're doing it with me instead of Jay."
Well, I was like, you drive like these 86s all the time. You drive all this stuff at Norwell. I'm like, this is a pretty good sub out for Jamie. Like I've got someone that's solid here. We actually...
Let's be honest. You just knew that if I came, I'd have a drink with you. And
yeah,
Jamie
well, that's true. Yeah. Jamie probably wasn't gonna drink with us that weekend. I didn't know, for the viewers watching home, we don't drink on supercar weekends. Like, it's super competitive.
Yeah.
You don't drink. You're laser focused, all that sort of stuff. But you get to race the champions, and
It was a celebration.
It's like a celebration. Yeah, it is.
It was a celebration of people of different motorsports all coming together, and it was actually really cool to see because you have the best of all the different motorsports across the world all come together, and you realize that we're just all the same.
Yeah. Everyone, like, you hold everyone on a pedestal, and then you get there, and everyone's just a normal person.
Yeah.
And I remember we got there. Did we get there the Thursday? We got there the Thursday. Friday was the first track on.
This story just gets funnier and funnier.
We got practicing. We got testing and all that, and we go out and have a run. Then we get back, and they're like, "Yeah, you got like the organisers, like, you guys coming down for beers?" And like, we've got all beers on downstairs. I'm like, "Yeah, we'll come down for beers."
But remember after the practice, like, we were really quick.
Oh yeah, we're like,
and because they Race of Champions was great, and Frederick and everyone do such a fantastic job. But I think you got some practice for the TV stuff. But they were letting like Seb and, because they're the ones that help sell the tickets and stuff for all this type of stuff. So they got a bunch of practice and stuff. And we'd gone out for practice in some of the other cars, and I think I was quickest in one of the like rallycross cars or something. And I didn't even know, I don't even know how to drive the thing. Like, it turns out we were on the wrong boost modes and everything because people were getting out of the cars that driven those cars and turning all the boost down, everything off. So we'd get in, not have any idea. So luckily we worked out, because we're, we know how the world works. We became friends with the guys that were running the rallycross cars. Right. And they're like, no, you turn this up to map 10. And it's like, you can feel the
F1 guys were the worst, to be honest. They were turning the buggies out of 4-wheel drive into 2-wheel drive when they hopped out. So you literally did have to.
That was Seb.
That was Seb. If a team... You'd work out, because all the teams were Aussies running the cars.
Yeah.
So, you'd befriend one of the guys that knew what he was doing, who was working on the car, and you'd be like, hey, what mode do I run this in? Because they'd just switch it out of every mode. So we worked that out on probably the Thursday going to the Friday. So Thursday night we go back, and everyone heads down, does like a welcome dinner.
We're staying in the nice hotel. And they run such a great event where it's like they sort of closed it off and let everyone get your dinner.
Yeah.
There was a ping pong table there. Remember the ping pong table?
Yeah. We were playing. So it was me.
And we've got clips of all this stuff
me,
too. I do.
Brodie, Chaz. We'll put some of the clips together with this and some videos. So me, Brodie, Chaz the first night. Travis Pastrana was there. There was a bunch of us that went down. There wasn't the whole group there that first night. Like, it's like a few were serious. Like, the F1 drivers, they, like Seb and Mick and that, they kind of went to bed the first night. They didn't come out drinking. A few of the rally guys. But we stayed there. It was like 12, 1 o'clock. They closed the bar there, and we're like, oh, what are we going to do? So a bunch of Travis's crew were real good people. Yeah. Hey, like, they were like, oh,
Butters.
come next. Yeah, Butters. A few other guys. They're like, come next door to the Irish pub or something like that. So we're like next door at the Irish pub. And, Kurt Busch, he was a legend. Hey?
Yeah.
He was good.
And I used to love watching Kurt growing up and racing. So it was actually a pretty cool moment hanging out with him. And obviously Kyle raced for RCR. So, but that was like...
He was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We went next door and we were playing that game where everyone puts their finger on the cup, and if it's your go, you go 6, and if there's 6 fingers left on the cup,
that's right.
You don't have to drink it.
Yeah, you're out first.
And whoever's last and lose has to drink it. And it's... So that was an awesome night. We were with all them, Kurt and a bunch of the group and that, and we went out there, and I think me and you and Chaz, we finished about 3:30 in the morning or 4, and we were lucky because went back to our room, and the organisers are awesome. They pretty much make sure you're up by 11. They feed you, get you sorted, and you go to the track at 3 o'clock.
Because we don't start driving till like 4:30 or 5 o'clock or something.
It's like 3, 4 o'clock, something like that.
And then do you remember so we're in the what stadium we're at? We're in the NRL change room. So there's like ice baths, like all these salt pools.
No, that was that night.
That was that night, I think, wasn't it? No, sorry. That was before. That was for the singles. We were trying to get ourselves together.
That was before the singles. So so this is the Friday night. So they've paired me and you up as the Aussie team, and then Chaz has been paired up with
Johan.
And he was fast. Like, everyone expected him to win that night. And me and you were like... We were like having a great, we were just happy to be there. We're like, oh yeah, we had a fun night last night. Yeah. We met all these people. How good's this? And then you're like giving me things. You're like, just pretty much, you're like, yeah, just don't fuck it up. You'll always screw it up something. And I'm like, oh, okay, going out there. So we're like hitting each other on the shoulder. We're like, I beat him. We got through, and we keep getting through. And unfortunately, Chaz gets knocked out. Like, I don't know how they got knocked out. And then we're like, yeah, we're through to the semis. Like, we're pumped. Like, we're through to the semis. We're like,
I couldn't believe it at the time.
Like,
I was in awe.
Who cares if we make the finals? We made the semis. And then we made the finals, and me and you looked at each other and got a bit serious. We're like, oh, far out, we could win this thing. Let's get...
Yeah.
And then you went out, and credit to him because you're fast in an 86. Like I always struggle to beat you in an 86. Who's the Victor Martins.
Victor Martins.
He was fast.
Incredible.
He impressed me.
Yeah,
like,
he was incredible.
So
yeah.
he got you in the 86. And then I went out in the buggy and I look across and it's Sebastian Loeb. And I'm like, what? This isn't fair. Like, I'm not going out in the buggy against Sebastian Loeb. So I'm out there, I'm in this thing and I'm wheeling it around. You keep looking across the track, the way the track works. You can kind of see if you're ahead of him. And I'm like, oh, I think I'm on. I think I actually might get him here. So, no, so I was the one that ran first and I beat Loeb.
Yeah.
And then you had to beat Victor Martins and we won. And so you screwed it up for us all. But
I carried you out of the semis.
Yeah, you did carry me out of the semis. So
Who did I have to beat in the semis? It was someone ridiculous.
it was someone really good in the semis. So I lost my semi. You got us through from semis to finals. I beat Loeb and then you had to beat Victor for us to win.
That's
and
right.
Then Victor just beat you. Like,
I know.
it was so close. But the worst part is because he just beat you, I had to jump in your car and he'd already got a run in that car.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, far out. So went out against Victor. I lost to him. It was actually pretty close. I was pretty happy
It was
with
very
the run
close.
I had. So he came second. So we were like, far out. We came second. How good's this? So we're like, we'll go and celebrate again. Like, you know, everyone's keen to celebrate.
But everyone went out that night.
Yeah, we're like, we're not going to, like, we were like, oh, we hope we win tomorrow and go well, but let's go and celebrate. So that night we decide, okay, let's go out. Everyone came out that night.
When we say go out, we still were in the hotel. We're in our private area, I remember.
Yeah, we're in it.
It was in that like roped off area.
I don't know what came first out of, was it Mick's pants or going up to like Mick ripping my pants?
No,
or?
it was Mick ripping your pants first.
So we've got, you can tell this story because you've got the video.
So I've got the video of this. So we're drinking with Mick Schumacher. Seb was there, but he wasn't drinking. He was just trying to get everyone drunk, mate. He is so
He's
competitive.
Smart. Oh, he is competitive.
He is so... But that's where it gets funny. And like Valtteri was down there for a bit as well with his trainer.
That was everyone. Like, remember, Travis Pastrana was down there.
Yeah, Kurt Busch.
Sebastian
the
Loeb,
Solberg family.
The Solberg family, all playing.
Yeah.
We're all playing the ping pong game where you...
Yeah, and Oliver's just won a WRC event too, and he's there as well.
And
so
that was
Peter,
everyone. Like, the crowd was awesome down there.
But, so then we're going there, and Mick's dad, Michael, used to do this old trick where he'd put his hands in the pockets and then grab the pockets and rip your pants off at a party. That was his party trick. So, of course, Mick's adopted one of his father's old party tricks, and he rolls up to you and rips your pants down. But the funniest thing of it all is when he ripped your pants, you still had the tag on your pants because you just bought those pants that day because you never pack a toothbrush, deodorant, or even clothes now now that I've come to learn.
Well, I think I was dressed that averagely that I saw all these people rocking up like F1 drivers dressed nice. And I'm like, oh, far out.
Like, they're in designer shit.
I know. I'm like, I better go buy some new stuff. So I went and bought these new clothes and I didn't know it still had the tag on it. So he ripped them off and he's like, why you got your tag on? I was like, I was going to take them back tomorrow. I can't afford them. And he's like, so we were joking. So I was like in chapless pants. Like, you could see my ass. Yeah, I had the back ripped down my pants and I just stayed
You're still
out
walking around, you're twerking.
I wore them all night. It was all good. And then I noticed Chaz was gone. And I'm like, where's Chaz gone? Like, what's up with him going?
Yeah,
This
then
is
I come
about
up with
one.
this great
And I'm
idea.
like, what? Then they're like, yeah, Chaz went home like an hour or two ago. And I'm like, oh, Chaz gone serious.
Because he had a big night the night before.
Yeah, he did. So
he was hurt.
He'd gone to bed. And then you're like, he said something like, let's go up and get him. And I'm like, how are we going to do that? So I went up to reception and I'm like, I'm Chaz Mostert. I knew he was on floor 6. I was acting like I was like, I'm Chaz Mostert. I've lost my room key. And I'm on floor 6, but I can't remember what number room I am. And they're like, oh,
because
okay.
we're drinking as well.
Yeah.
So they were like,
They didn't care.
No problem.
And they're like, okay, Mr. Mostert, you are in 627. Here's your new room key. And I'm like, no way, this just gets better. So I get everyone. I'm like, I get Travis Pastrana, or I get Mick Schumacher, you.
Do you remember
Molly
Travis
Taylor.
walking up? He felt so bad.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, we can't do this. Like, he's trying to sleep. And we're like, mate, you don't know how it works here. Fuck Chaz. Let's go.
Yeah. And I'm like, he can't go to bed and ditch us tonight. So we go up and I'm like, okay. And everyone's standing outside his door. And I'm like, okay. And we open the door, go and like really quietly sneak in. There's like 16 people in his room. And then I grab him and Travis has like got him and like tipping a beer on him, telling him to drink.
I think we got the video of this.
And someone turns the light on and poor old Chaz was like, he was actually like frightened. He didn't know what was going on. Luckily, we wouldn't go do it to Travis or someone big that could imagine that. But I actually thought about it the next day. I was like, far out. We are so lucky that was actually Chaz's room. Like, it was pitch black. We grabbed him. Imagine if it was like a couple that we would have been.
Can you imagine?
I would have gone to jail.
Because,
I was like,
yeah, and then we tried to do the same thing to Mick Schumacher the next night, but he's smart.
He's smart, eh?
He put the door lock on.
He put the door lock on. He's like, and we opened the door. He's like, and he's like, I knew you guys were going to do that. He was in there. So he locked his door. But the best part was that it was the last night and I'd got Chaz the night before with that. We'd all got him. And I was out again and we were having fun. And then my brother rings me. He was staying in the room with me and he's like, it was like 12 o'clock. He rings and he's like, God, you got to come check our room out. Somebody has got us real good. And it turns out Chaz had got a group of people going up and just messed my whole room up. Like,
I didn't actually know this.
Didn't you know this?
I didn't know this.
My bed was like up on top of the and the bed was heavy. Like the couches were flipped, like everything. The room you couldn't even notice it. And I'm like, so Tim brings me and I walk up and I'm like, oh no. So they didn't damage anything. They just put everything like, there was just stuff in the bathroom. I just had to. It was so hard to clean up. So I was like, oh God, this is a classic stitch up.
But that was actually really funny because after we'd got on it finished second to Loeb and Martins, obviously we'd had that night and we were out quite late. And so obviously some of the drivers went to bed like 2 o'clock and we were out till like 4 or 5 or something ridiculous. And then so we get ready for the next day, which is the singles, and like we were in a pretty bad. I remember.
Yeah, well, I reckon we finished at 3 because we finished at 3 the night before because the bar closed and we all just went back and chatted and that. We probably went to bed about 4, woke up, they feed you again, everything like that. And then we're like, feeling a little bit dusty. We're like, me, Chaz and Brodie were like, how are we going to get out of this? And then we noticed that they had
because we're in the NRL
there.
rooms.
They had ice bars, and we're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So we're all the others are out there getting
we're
ready,
naked in the
and
ice bars.
we're in the ice bars, and we're like, "Oh!" And it just echoes the whole way through. Everyone was so sick of us, hey, by the end. Like you could tell all the other drivers, but we're having a great time.
But do you remember Valtteri Bottas's what's it called? His trainer was there.
Yeah.
And so Valerie got knocked out both nights straight away. And we'd made it quite fun. Chaz went to the finals.
Yeah, he knocked me out to get in the finals.
And so we'd gone to the finals, and then everyone's like, "Oh, these Aussies, they just get drunk every night," which is not how it's not
what we actually do on a race week.
It's like these Aussies, like they're just like they're like, you guys are crazy. Like just I don't know how you guys do it. Like we're doing it all wrong.
The Americans were good fun as well. They were the ones. It was like Aussies versus Americans. But yeah, Valtteri's guys because Valtteri he was out cycling at 6 a.m. every day, and I remember his trainer's like, "You're doing it all wrong, Valtteri." Valtteri he got knocked out, and his trainer was a really good guy. So yeah, it was just one of those weekends that we just had an awesome time. Like we say, you don't do that on a supercar weekend or that, but it was just like you say, it was a celebration. Like everyone was there to celebrate. Just everyone coming together. They said that's what
it was fantastic.
They were telling us stories like all the guys that have run it for so long.
David Coulthard as well. He was so funny.
Far out. David Coulthard is the funniest. He was awesome. But they're telling us all stories about every year of Race of Champions. And yeah, it's literally just like come and have fun, take it lightheartedly, put on a good show. And to be honest, I think, a lot of, I don't know if it didn't get promoted well enough, but like a lot of, there should have been more people there. That was
such a great event.
That was the best.
And everyone
event.
that went that we knew, everyone that we knew that went really enjoyed it as well, which was really good. So, but I think we still need to hit up Travis Pastrana about that invite to his.
Well, he did. I don't know if I told you this. When I went over for NASCAR, I had to go to Atlanta, but the weekend of Atlanta, he invited me to go up to, where was it, Ainsley? It
was outside New York.
It was outside New York somewhere, and it was me and him challenging each other. He sent me the full email. We were going to do school bus races, towing caravan races, and all this stuff. He invited me up, but the problem is it was like a 2-hour flight away, and I had to go to Atlanta, so I couldn't do it. But I was talking to him, and Christy, she put it all in contact.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Oh, we'll plan something, but we need to go over and check out his place."
I think we need to hit him up.
Yeah, and he messaged me for Chicago. He's like, "Best of luck this weekend." He's like,
That's really cool.
hard not going for someone who's American on 4th of July weekend or something like that. And he was really good. So yeah, that was cool to meet those guys. And he was my highlight because I remember I rode motorbikes when I was young and I played the games that was Travis Pastrana and always followed everything he did. But he was the nicest guy. He was genuinely, but he was genuine.
You never know what to expect when you meet people that you've looked up to or followed your whole life, and really when it comes down, they're just human like us. So and he had so much time for us, and
but some people you meet and they're nice, but he was just we
really we gave him a lot of shit.
We did. I remember messaging him. I still have the message somewhere. And he'd gone to bed and it was like 12 o'clock. And I'm like, "You better get back down here, you pussy." And then he came back down. He's like, "I couldn't accept that you'd messaged me and said that." So he actually came back down. I'm like, "What?" I didn't expect him to come back at all. But he was good. So, no, that was Race of Champions was definitely the highlight so far of just fun. Like it was one of the most fun weekends of racing I've ever had in my career, and that was me, you, Chaz, having a good time, but everyone we met there. So it was pretty cool. But I think, is there anything else we need to?
I think you should talk about the gala on the weekend.
The gala?
Yeah, the Dyson.
Oh yeah, Dyson Family Foundation.
Yeah, that was
just
pretty
come.
cool.
Well, we're shooting this on a Wednesday, but we just come back from that, which Brodie and I, Sean Dyson, Felicity Dyson, they've sponsored both of us now to complete parts and equipment for 2 years.
It's kind of weird because they started sponsoring you first, but I've known Sean through Speedway for quite a long time. So yeah, it was great to go down to the Dyson Family Foundation. It was their first ever gala dinner that they've held for their charity, which was really great. It raised over $100,000, which was fantastic. So over
a fun weekend.
It was a fun weekend. So over 300 people in the Hunter Valley, and had a surprise guest. Are we allowed to say it?
Yeah, I think we are. I think they saw it. So it was like they got Guy Sebastian there
to come play.
And
so it was a total secret.
Yeah.
You knew and told everyone, and you weren't supposed to, and then tried to blame it on me.
I did actually try and blame it on you.
Yeah.
They were like, I think, so my brother is Sean's pilot, and somehow he must have, I don't know if he told Dad and then Dad told me, but it didn't seem like it seemed like people knew the way I got told. So then I told someone, yeah, Guy Sebastian's coming, and then later on Tim's like, you're not meant to know about that. And I'm like, yeah, Brodie told me. And I read Brodie, Brodie's like, I didn't even know about it. You told me. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So I don't actually know how I found out. But so we went down there. I bring a couple of my mates from Toowoomba to a fair few things. You met them a lot. Yeah. So Darian Jackson and Tom met them. So they're always good fun. And and it was like, guys just, like, it's like 8 o'clock at night. It's not even rowdy yet. Guys just got up there to sing his first song.
You gave him a talking to, like, hey, guys, like, behave. It's
charity
charity
I did.
ball.
I actually gave him a talking to. I was like, you guys got to behave. Because, like, Adelaide, when I won my championship the night after, they did not behave. Bathurst didn't behave.
Your brother was the worst. He was the one kissing other employees. He gave me a lap dance.
Yeah, Tim as well. We all got pretty wild at Adelaide. But, yeah, and then I look over and it's like 8 o'clock at night. Guys just hopped up. Everyone's sitting, like, just finished dinner. And I see you going, I'll give you $100 if you go up there and dance. And Darian can dance. Like, we tell people he's a stripper.
Those are the best movie hips I've ever seen. I got to give it to him.
He can. And then you're like, I'll give you $300. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, will I embarrass you if you get up there? And you're like,
the Guy Sebastian's playing live, and everyone's like just in awe. The Guy Sebastian's he's like in his first song.
We'll have to get this video up, but Darian dances through the tables, like, to get up there. And they're just dancing by himself up the front. Everyone's watching Darian.
But he's up facing Guy Sebastian, and he wouldn't turn around. And I was like to him afterwards, I'm like, oh, why were you facing that way? And he goes, I couldn't dare turn around. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, he's pretty nervous about it, but he can move. So it actually got the party started because everyone was just finishing their mates, and then people started hopping up, and
everyone
got the whole thing. But everything went well that night. It was cool to see Billy Slater. And I guess the Dyson Family Foundation, to explain to people, if you're looking at donating or doing anything like that, it's called Backpack Pals. And I didn't realise how many kids go to school, without food and that sort of stuff. Like, it just I didn't think it was actually believable. But they started off in the Singleton area supplying food to kids that didn't have food at school. And I guess that's, people have heard about them more in the Cessnock area and all through that area, and want them to want the same service through different schools and that. And Sean and Felicity have sort of funded it all themselves so far. So they're starting to do these charity balls and golf days and that to raise a bit of funding and awareness for it all. So yeah, it's great for both of us to be a part of. Like, they're a great family. They do a great job of everything. So yeah, that was a cool weekend. We had a lot of fun. We always have fun when we go away, bring a few mates, and make it a bit lighthearted. I guess the racing these days is pretty serious. Like,
it's very serious. It's good to have a break, and I guess being around, like, they're not only partners of ours and support us and whatnot, and we're ambassadors for the company, but they're actually just really good people, being a part of the Lancaster family, which you've been a part of for a
Lancasters.
while. So yeah, it was great to go hang out with those guys. It's never a chore; it's always a pleasure.
No, that's right.
And we auctioned off some items. So you auctioned off a helmet.
Yeah. This is why Brodie's paying to fund all this podcast. So they we get to the charity items, and I've bidded on a few items, just bumping them up. And then they go to the silent auction where you write your name down, your price. And
It wasn't really a silent auction, was it?
It wasn't really a silent auction, but you write your name down, price, and they're like reading out all the winners. They're like, and congratulations to, Will Brown Hot Laps, such and such won this. And then they get to Brodie's Hot Laps. And they're like, okay, 2 hot laps with Brodie Kostecki and a shirt. And then I'm like, oh, who won this? And I'm just sitting there happy. And then they're like, and congratulations to Will Brown for bidding $4,000 on Brodie Kostecki's hot laps. And I'm like, what?
I remember looking at your face because you're laughing because you're like probably thinking, oh, Abby's put it out. And they told the price. And you've gone, like, what the fuck? I didn't bid $4,000.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell? And then Brodie starts laughing. He's like, I just went and wrote your name down, the price. So I had to buy these hot laps. So Brodie's funding this podcast for the next, 2 years or something if we get that far. But so I was like, oh God, that's a classic stitch up. So I had to buy these hot laps. So that's about it. But we're going to give away a couple of hot laps actually.
We are actually.
through the podcast. We want to. I guess we've done this to get fans more involved, give a bit more content when we're away. I think also you only generally get to see myself and Brodie on an interview for 10 seconds. So you don't
in the flesh.
You don't really get to be yourself or anything like that when you're in an interview. Car's good, team's good. Yeah, it's great out there. That's about all you get to say. So we wanted to bring a podcast that gives something back to the fans, and we want to make it a bit more, that you guys can get involved. That we ask some questions on Instagram. We're going to give away some hot laps. I'll probably look at giving away Brodie's hot laps because now I own them. So, the other thing that at the time of filming this, we don't have a name for our podcast. We've tried. We've tried so hard, but we just can't. We can't pick one yet. So what we're thinking is, I'm not sure. We'll get Ainsley to help us with this if we're going to give away a podcast. But we want people to come up with a hot lap. We're going to give away. Yeah, so we're going to give away. I think that's a pretty good prize. A hot lap to whoever, and I think we should have picked. Will we have picked it by the time we put this out? So we're going to pick it throughout the next period before we put this out. So
hopefully, put out a couple of options, or just let people come up with their own.
No, I think they're going to come up with their own. But I guess because this will be out at the time, hopefully our name is not bad because it's going to be one of our fans picking it, one of you guys listening. So hopefully people have some fun with it. But that's why I brought the podcast. There's no sponsors yet or anything like that. It's just to have a bit of fun.
Yeah, it is to have a bit of fun. So there's obviously a lot of history between us. I think we touched on most of it, which has been a bit of a flashback, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we planned on, we've definitely spoken about it, obviously doing it, but I think we thought both of us doing it together, and then sort of, I guess we've seen what Apex Hunters have done and that sort of stuff, and we want to bring some guests on over the time.
What did you tell me before?
Some current drivers. Yeah,
some current
drivers. So letting you know, Scott. But no, they've done a good job, and I've seen with Scott being my co-driver and that how
the
much
impact it's had.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I think they've done a great job of that, and I think we just wanted to, start something up and have a bit of fun together, have a bit of banter, and that sort of stuff. So that's why we started it. Hopefully, I guess this will wrap it up.
Yeah,
so,
and if anyone's got any ideas, or because we don't really know.
Oh, actually, no, this isn't wrapping it up.
Questions.
We've got to do our fan questions. I nearly forgot. We're gonna. So what are we? We're gonna do like fan questions each time, and this is why we asked on Instagram the other day. Throw out some fan questions that the people come up with. So what do we got, Ains?
Well, we've got some quick fire Q&A. We've got 6, but the first one is, what comes first for you guys, friendship or rivalry between the two of you?
Well, I don't think that we've. Can you explain it better?
I think so. I think the rivalry is also in the friendship as well.
Yeah, I think it's in the friendship. You wanna beat them, but you're also friends. But is that like, would I take Brodie out at Adelaide?
Well, it's like, would you put your friendship higher than your rivalry? Like, would you be happy to see him do well, or happy to see you guys go head to head?
Oh, I'd like to go head to head, but I think our friend, like if Brodie took me out at Adelaide or I took him out, it's on the track. Like, I don't think it'd affect it that much. It's just like he spun me last year, and even though I came back, I don't think wherever, maybe if it was NASCAR level and they just fence them deliberately, but I don't think in supercars you can get away with fencing someone deliberately. So most of the time when someone crashes you out,
we're pretty, I think we're probably, there's some guys out there that do stuff and I'm generally pretty good. I don't do stuff off the collar intentionally, unless someone's been a real.
I'll rub someone and move them out the road and do that with you as well.
Yeah, well, you did that at Townsville. Yeah, you come out after your penalty.
Came out of the pits, and I was like, he's on 5 lap worst tires, so I didn't even think I had to block him. And then he just lunged me just straight, and I'm like, what the hell were you doing there? He's like, oh, well, I thought you're not going to get third anyway, so I'll have some fun with you. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. That's good. So no, I don't know. I don't think we'd do anything intentionally. So I don't think that'd be a problem.
So friendship comes first.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, for now. Though I'm sure that, That's a
Come to
question.
Adelaide.
Yeah,
Jeez.
ask that
Like
question
we're not
again.
going to hinder out. We're not going to lose a championship for the friendship, but I don't think it'd lose.
Okay. Whose championship year was better?
Oh, I like this one because I think this is so up to debate because I would probably argue yours, to be honest, just because of the reason that it was with a team that hadn't won a championship. I think that year with Erebus, we were the underdogs.
Yeah, I think
It
the
wasn't
story
expected.
was
The story was cool.
The storyline was really cool, but then like also your one was really cool as well. Like being on the podium every single round. That's pretty like
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's pretty hard one.
Mine as well. Like Brock had done really well the year before, like compared
did,
to
yeah.
Shane.
Yeah.
So I think it was like people were wondering how me and Brock would fare up against each other. So there was that storyline. There was the podiums. We had a great year, but
You're also carrying. Not only, remember he used to always joke with you as well. I'm like, you're also representing me as well because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were always like,
close
like
to each
so close to each
If
other.
I go in there and go terrible, they'll say the Erebus cars were just good. So
Yeah, that's why I was like, remember telling
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like, make sure you go in there and start winning,
Yeah.
mate. Like seriously, otherwise we're both screwed.
I reckon I'll go with Brodie's just because of the underdog thing and,
well,
and the
thanks.
story. Yeah.
Do you guys get to work on your car or get any hands-on times besides driving?
I know the
My
answer.
car would fall apart.
I'm pretty hands on with mine at times, so yeah,
Yeah.
I like to get involved and be a part of the process.
Brodie's like all over it on engineering, mechanicking, all of that. Like, I just haven't been that involved with that side of it, to be honest. And no, I don't work on my
Yeah,
car,
I guess
really.
that, but that's where we worked really well together. Is like
Yeah.
you're a lot better at a lot of other stuff than I was. So like you rubbed off on me a lot on how you went about your racing, and then I probably rubbed off on you a lot about like the
Yeah.
mechanical side of things. And if things aren't right, and like obviously your feedback was really good, so
Yeah.
that was easy.
Good joy, yeah.
What's the most challenging thing as a driver that the fans don't see?
I reckon for me, it's after a shit weekend and having to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks to have another.
Yeah. Yeah, I will agree with that. Like, you know, you sort of
Because everyone thinks about it for like 3 weeks, and like in other sports, you may only have like 1 or 2 weeks off. Like even
Yeah.
like AFL, you have a bad game, you're playing next week anyway. So it's like
Yeah.
already, there's only 1 week of media. Whereas like you have a bad round in Supercars and there's like 3 weeks of just bullshit media that comes out, and it's the story's spun 5 different ways and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I reckon that's probably the toughest bit.
And yeah, I do agree. And you just want it to come as quick as possible. It's like when I had a tough Darwin or something like that.
Yeah.
You just want to get to Townsville and have a good
That's it, you just wanna go to the next
result
one.
and that. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
Brodie, will you do another NASCAR race?
Probably not, to be honest. Probably not. I think I'm pretty happy with what I did over there, and like
I think if the opportunity came out and it was easy to do,
if it was easy to do and someone said, yeah, hey, come do it. But like for me, like a lot, like the money that it takes to go do it, I can go race my sprint car a bunch, which I really want to go do, but it's rained almost every single event this year in
Yeah.
Queensland. So I've got that car built back up, and DJ have been pretty kind to say, yeah, you can go race it whenever you want, just don't go, kill yourself basically. I really probably want to jump back in that and do a bunch more with that. So luckily we went to that gala on the weekend, and Sean's pretty good on the spanners, so he's
he might
offered to be my crew chief, which is pretty
that'd
cool.
be good.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Okay, and last one. Will you two ever pair up in a Mustang for the 12-hour or just pair up in general?
I reckon 12-hour would be cool to do.
That would be cool.
It would be good. That'd be an awesome, like me, Brock, you.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool
outright.
team.
That'd
to
be a cool one.
Yeah. So
Brock's
I'm
bloody
not sure.
good in a GT car.
He's fast. He's
Yeah.
fast in a GT car. So it'll be interesting. Obviously.
I do love that joint though. So
Yeah.
I'd love to go head to head with Brock in the same car
Yeah,
at
that
some
would
point.
be cool. Yeah, I'm not sure. You never say never. Obviously, all Ford drivers next year. It'll be interesting. So yeah, I think.
Are you excited to go to Mustangs next year?
We didn't really cover this off, actually. We can cover that. Well, yes, obviously, I think Ford is tipping in a lot of resources, that's for sure, into motorsport right now. For me, it was a weird one when it happened because it was so
remember you
unexpected.
didn't
They
even
kept
know.
it so quiet, and I got told 12 hours before it got announced, and I've driven the GM product the whole time, but I can understand why Triple Eight's gone that way. I think they thought it might have gone a bit different. Obviously, at the time, we also thought that Kenny would do the do their Ford motors, and that sort of be quite a, we just build the cars. Kenny does the engines. He's doing the GM.
There's been a lot of knock-on
Yeah,
effects.
so there's been a lot of knock-on effects from it, and I think it's actually been really good for the sport because it's been great to see GM get revived and start spending more money.
Yep, I'd agree.
They probably should have just spent the money at the start, you know what I mean, and sponsored us. But it's cool. I think they're taking all the GM teams over to America.
Well, I think they've still got to pay to go, so I don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's all working, but yeah, I remember when that happened, or like the Triple Eight moved from Ford, and then all of a sudden GM's like, you start getting
messy.
Yeah, people calling, and it's like, hey, when's your contract up?
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
you know.
So they want to. It's good because I think when it first happened, people like GM are going to pull out of the sport, which would be terrible for us. But I think they've gone the other way and gone, hey, we're going to try and show these guys that, you know, we can run competitively and we're going to invest back into the sport. So I think that's been great. But I'm keen for the Ford switch. I think it's something different. Obviously for us, it's learning a new car, seeing what all the whinging's about from Brodie and all the guys out there. I reckon the car's awesome, the Ford, but we'll wait and see. But
typical car salesman.
But no, I'm keen for it. I'm actually very interested to do my first laps. Like I want to know because like I haven't actually been told yet like when we're allowed to drive.
It's a lot different.
How much we're allowed to. So I'm just keen to jump between it. You've obviously driven the Chevy and the Ford now, so you know the differences. So I'm keen to jump in and see.
With the way some people speak to me, it's like I've never driven any car.
Yeah, they're not listening, eh?
No, not very good. But
yeah, so it's interesting because the weird thing is that people, I guess, who drive the Ford, like you can probably comment more, have, I guess, some, what would you, not complaints, but some hesitations or something around.
There's just like differences, but there's gonna be differences because they look different for one, and the motors are completely different. But yeah, it's like when you get into the nitty gritty behind the scenes that we won't go into, but yeah, it's like there could be a lot more done behind the scenes to go find out what the differences are, but it's like everyone's scared of what the result's going to be.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared about, if they, no one wants to get found out if they've done a bad job, but that's like how I say, just because everyone's trying their best doesn't mean it's good enough. Like everyone tries their best, but sometimes it's just not good enough. Like you keep striving to be better, and that's just one thing our sport lacks a lot.
The guy who qualified last on the weekend still tried his best.
Like I won on Friday, and if he tried just as hard as I did on Saturday, on Saturday as I did on Friday, and I sucked. So it's just is what it is.
See, and there probably are differences, but I think at the end of the day, it has been super close this year. Like when you look at it across the board, there's Cam, there's you, there's a lot of people, Matt Payne, there's a lot of people in the Fords qualifying on pole.
There's probably more arguably
better
teams on average on Ford though. Whereas like I'm not at Erebus anymore and you're not at Erebus anymore. And when we were at Erebus, we were the top Camaro team.
Yeah.
And like even last year, back half of last year, like I started firing off again, like really good, like going to Sandown. We were racing for the win at Sandown, then obviously won Bathurst and went to Gold Coast and won Sunday Gold Coast. Adelaide was like trying to pass you for third. And then like so lost the team there. So it's like, it's really hard to work out like what, what's, if it's fair or if it's not.
Well, it's really going to be us
knows.
switching to Ford that tells you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we're first in pit lane, but then it's hard to argue that there's differences because then the next 4 or 5 teams are all Fords. So you're like, oh, well, there's not a GM team apart from us in the top 6 or something like that in the or 5 in the team. So that's probably the argument we use. But like you say, there may be better teams.
It's happened
using
before,
the Ford
like
gear.
Taylor and Ben in 2023. Remember that weekend I had? It was like all Fords in the top 10, and I was like the only Camaro.
Yeah, that's right. So no, I think this year, I think a Ford can win the champ. I don't think there's any difference there. Like as in, I think Chaz was really fast last year at Adelaide and all that. So I think this year, but it'll be interesting us switching to Ford. Well, if we switch to Ford and run like 10th next year, everyone will be like, I told you.
Well, that's why we did the drivers retreat, because they said, if like any of you guys aren't in the finals, we're going to send you out in formation. And it's pretty much take out any car that doesn't have an oval badge on the front of it.
Yeah. I don't know if we have that good a team, that good of friends in the Chevy team.
Well, you don't because you've left them all.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think Erebus are going to help me out there. I guess, that's another talking point is the finals. Do you think people will start helping other cars? Like you got Woody, say, not in the finals, but fast if he doesn't get through. Chaz in the final 4. What lengths do you reckon people will go to?
I hope not, but it goes back to like the rules being different, and I guess like if there was like, there's respect down the racetrack, but it's probably not as much as it should be because everyone's protected by the rules. Whereas like, you know, I think if the rules were more open and it was built on a respect basis where like, if you push me, I can push you.
Yep.
Basically. So you would probably tend less to not do it. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it on a final lap for a race win where it counts. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be allowed. Because right now it's not allowed. But it's like right now, it's like, if it doesn't get seen, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of instances with me, probably because we haven't been qualifying as of great up until Townsville, where you're like sort of in the mid pack and it's a shit show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you've been in there, it's a shit show. Like some of the shit that goes on back there.
Well, I think the rules this year with allowing people to kind of use their bumpers more and that, it's actually different to NASCAR. Like generally over there, they don't run into each other as enough, like that much.
Because you get pushed wide, you go on the fence next corner.
But like that's right over there. It seems like somebody will make a mistake, hit them, and then that guy just fences them next corner, so they don't do it. Yeah. Where over here, like you look at Darwin, how many like I was just opening the steering. You're going to turn one on the inside, and old mate's on the outside, running around the outside. He can make the corner, but you just run him off.
But that's the thing I don't like. That's the thing I hate is like that.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
you do
racing
it every time.
I know, but it's not. It's not racing.
It's not,
I actually don't do it that much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like the thing is that it's gone to the stage that everyone's like, oh, you just can't hit them in the rear bar, but you seem to get overlap on them. Then you just use them up and get rid of them. Where in NASCAR, if you watch people like, oh, NASCAR's so dirty, they actually don't really do that. They don't really use them up on exit. Like
because if you did use someone up next corner, if they're close to you,
you'd get rid of them.
You're not finishing.
Yeah, but it's like when I was at Chicago and I was sitting next to Shane and I walk out and Kyle's saying to him that like Kyle Busch was saying it was pretty dirty what he did to Connor. And I'm like, that's probably the cleanest move I've seen in Australia for a long time if that was in Australia. Like, yeah, he would have ended up in the fence pretty much and then it would have been like play on. So it's interesting over there. I think that we're getting away with so much more because you can't retaliate. Like there's been a few situations this year that if someone did what they've done to me and I was allowed, I would have just put them in the fence. Yeah. And that person wouldn't do that again. Yeah. But unfortunately with the rules it is you can't retaliate, but they can do the first instance to you. So it's an interesting...
That's the only part I don't like. I like the more racing, the blah, 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 or whatever.
It's good, and you want harder racing. You want harder racing. Like, you want people to be able to kind of rub you and all that, but I don't know what the line... I'm unsure what the line is right now because you are just kind of getting rid of people when they're on the outside, you just push them off.
Yeah, that's not racing.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting, but yeah, that's about it. That's a podcast. If anyone has any questions or like... talking points, ideas, anything, and you're listening, shoot it through. Either comment on one of our stories, message us, either me or Brodie, because, yeah, we don't know what we're doing yet, and for the next episode, it'll help to have some really good talking points, or anyone you want to see come on the podcast, someone weird, new, whatever. So let us know, but that's the first one, hey?
That's the first one. If anyone's got a hair transplant clinic, I know someone who's looking.
Let me know.